and welcome, my gentle and, of course, very modern apes. This is SkepTalk. I am your gentle and, of course, very modern host, Erika. I'm here with Aron Ra, who needs no introduction. And let's see, what's the date today? It's the 13th of April, Monday, as SkepTalks usually tend to be. Aron, how you doing?
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It
You and I
has.
haven't been on a show together in a really long time. Matter of fact, you were still, I think, single the last time we did the show together.
No way. No way it's been that long.
It has, indeed.
That's insane. That's like 5 years. That's like half a decade.
The last time we were on a show together, I remember boasting that I knew your real name. And I said that your real name is Erika Yoshiko Hernandez.
Yeah.
But now that you're married, it's Erika Yoshiko Hernandez hyphen Leibowitz.
Right, because we hyphenated, of course, naturally.
And because I'm trying to fit as many different ethnicities into one name as possible.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, Aron, I should say, don't dox me like that. Don't put me on blast for everybody to see. I am trying to think. Well, okay, I know we have a little intro video. Do we want to go ahead and do that, or shall we vamp a bit first? Lux preferences.
I mean,
I'm ready to get with it.
Tell the people. Do you know about the LineCon? You tell the people, and then I'll play the video.
We do LineCon here. LineCon is a thing on this channel where some of our hosts, once every Saturday, I believe. It's monthly.
Yeah.
Right? It's monthly. Sorry. I don't know what Saturday it is every month because I'm a bad host. I'm a bad employee here. But we essentially have a convention that patrons have access to. They can come on and see sort of a exclusive, I guess would be the word, presentation from the realm of expertise from three of our select hosts once per month. I've done it once before. Aron, have you done LineCon yet?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool. You guys should be patrons for patron reasons anyways, because it helps keep the lights on in the face of the changing algorithm, which, as the shifting sands on Arrakis, is constantly changing, and it's, we have to adapt to that. And so Patreon is a really nice way to ensure stability for the show and for the hosts on the show. And, you get something out of it too. So let's see the LineCon trailer.
I want to talk about LineCon this Saturday and Friday. This is the week. If you haven't done it yet, this is the week that you want to go and sign up for Patreon. Patreon.com/calltheline, because this Friday and Saturday, you actually are going to get 2 LineCons. LineCon is a thing that instead of doing tickets every month, it's just anybody who's on the $15 or month or higher event gets to go to. You get 3 lectures, 20-minute lectures, and then a Q&A with the 3 hosts. So it's a 2-hour event. Usually it's $15 for one, but this month we're doing one on Friday and Saturday. So this is the week to go to patreon.com/calltheline and sign up for $15 or more. And this week you're going to get to meet Sarah from Leaving Faith, who is our new Devangelicals host on Friday. Eric, Skeptics and Scoundrel, will be there. And then Seth Andrews will Friday will be Matt Dillahunty will be giving a presentation. And then on Saturday, Alyssa, sex coach, my co-host on The Line Has a Podcast, and Chewed Gum, she will be joined by Dr. Ben and Seth Andrews. He's doing Saturday. So you get a Matt and Seth, Sarah and Alyssa, a Eric and Dr. Ben. Just a really good lineup. 6 lectures total, 2 Q&As, 4 hours of LineCon extraordinaire, all of that for only $15. You should go to patreon.com/calltheline and sign up for that.
My name is Promise Backlund, and if you don't go to LineCon this weekend, then I'll be severely disappointed.
Aw.
You're muted.
Dang it, I knew I was going to do that. I do that every time. I don't even know why I bothered to explain what LineCon is when Jimmy just explained himself. But I guess it's good that the audience got it twice, so now you won't forget.
I have complained a couple of times that how I envy you and also Forrest in that you guys are able to focus more on the vocation of interest that I share. So that you're, as you were saying just before we started broadcasting, you were saying that you have all of this knowledge about anthropology, paleoanthropology in your head that you don't have room for anything else. I get you. I mean, my issue, the reason I envy you is because I have to diversify. By always talking to creationists, I have to know both sides of their argument better than they do. So I learn as much as I can on evolution, but then I also have to reserve some space in there for comparative mythologies, the history of comparative world religions, and what the fuck the scripture says and means, all that kind of crap. So not my primary vocation. Still interesting. Still, I consider myself both cultural and physical anthropology for that reason. But I really wish I could just stick to the science and not have to do the mythology stuff. But I am working on another book to that end, on that aspect of it. So it's not entirely bad.
When's the estimated release on that? Can you tell us anything interesting about it? Now I'm curious.
Way overdue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay. Cool. Good to know.
So I'm not going to put any numbers on it.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's fair. I was I was gonna give an example of a time this happened last night, but it actually happens every day, so you can just pick any day. I get asked at least once a day, usually when I'm going to graduate, like when the doctorate's going to be done. It's a question that I love getting so much because the answer is it's going to be done when it's done. You know what I'm like? It's going to be done when I get it done. I cannot tell you how many times. Like if I wanted it to be shit, it could be done now, but I don't want it to be, and so it's taking longer than I want it to. But such is the nature of the beast.
You are one of the associations, one of the people that I know online that I'm one of the ones that I am proudest of because I've been watching you forever. I've been watching you forever.
So kind. What the hell?
And you are making yourself. It's a pleasure to see.
Well, actually, I've been dying to tell you this anecdote for a long time. Before I ever started my channel, this is the beginning of the show where Aron and I are just gassing each other up. Before I ever started the channel, I sent you an email. And this was when I was like barely on Reddit. And I was like, I sent you an email and I was asking for a source for one of your graphics that you used in one of your videos. And I'm pretty sure it was like one of the, like the debunking Noah's Ark, because you have several from different perspectives where you go through that. And I shot you an email and I was like, no chance he's gonna email me back on this because he's like a YouTube guy, YouTube celebrity. No way I'm gonna hear back from him. And you got back to me like the next morning and you were like, yeah, this is where I got it from. Best of luck. Let me know if I can be of more help. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, YouTubers are people. I got back from Art. That's crazy. And then it was humbling because within like 2 years, I think of that, we did a show together and that was cool. And then now we are affiliated in more ways than one, which is nice.
I wish I was that quick on all my emails. It was just a few days ago that I was actually 400 something emails behind.
You are preaching to the choir, my friend. You are
and some of the ones that I'm going through, I'm realizing, oh shit, I really would have liked to have answered this one a week ago.
Yeah. Yep. I have many of those. And every time, I don't know how it is with you. It sounds like it's similar, but what I do is I answer them in batches. And then I'll be like, I'm never going to let it get this behind again. And then I do every time, inevitably. I always get as behind as I was before. And that's like 3 or 4 months behind. And I aim for it to be once a month and it never is. So, but,
there was
whatever.
one that I answered where they wanted me. And to me, this is a big deal. It probably won't matter to you, but I mean, so I guess they're an independent film company doing an animated movie, something along the lines of Ralph Bakshi back in the 70s. And they wanted to do where a rock and roll guy back in the day, it runs into Lemmy Kilmister. And they told me that they had a computer analyze my voice, that I was the perfect voice for the young Lemmy Kilmister. So they wanted me to say this line. And they said I didn't have to change my voice. I didn't have to try to sound like old Lemmy, just say it the way I would, maybe with a Kensington accent. Yeah. But basically, yeah, so supposedly there's going to be a movie, I guess, next year that'll have in the credits Lemmy Kilmister played by Aron Ra.
Oh, that's great. Have you done the voice work already for it?
Yeah, I already recorded the bit. It's a bit part.
That's so fun.
It's just a bit part, but for it to be me doing Lemmy, that's
super cool.
When I found out about Lemmy, it's funny. Somebody came up to me and they were just looking at how I looked, and they asked about Lemmy, and I didn't know who that was. And so they got out at one of the rock and roll magazines that they used to have all over the 80s, and they showed me a picture of the dude. He was dressed exactly like I was at that moment. Like, okay, this is creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I started listening to the music, and I'm like, no, this is awesome. So
This
yeah,
is a role you were meant to play.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, before we get into this, we got a couple of people waiting on the lines. I want to give a special sort of shout out here to creationists. You got two people who are really familiar with creationism of all varieties. I'm talking intelligent design, young earth creationism, old earth creationism. If you've got any questions about evolutionary theory, or if you feel creationism offers a better model in some shape, form, or fashion, please call in. Aron and I would be happy to take your call and explain, why we don't find creationism to be compelling at all, and why we find evolutionary theory to be one of the most robust, if not the most robust, concepts in science today. Certainly within biology, certainly acting as a foundation within
I put
biology.
it to people this way. I say evolution is the one and only explanation of biodiversity, scientific or otherwise. There
Yeah.
is no other. And
Yeah.
what I've gotten into, the arguments I've gotten into is people who deny microevolution, who deny who insist that that dachshunds and basset hounds and bloodhounds were not.
Did he freeze for you too, Erika?
He froze for me too. I was waiting. I was hoping that he
Okay.
was going to come back in. Oh, Aron. Oh no. He's casting a spell. He's mid-cast. I know we're going to agree on this is the thing. Hopefully he'll be back here in a moment, but it's funny that I don't want to repeat myself, so I'm going to wait till he comes back to give my thoughts on what he's about to say, but like there is a weird undercurrent that's happening right now within creationist communities of like trying to get around the microevolution thing, and I want to get his opinion on this because I think he'll find it to be very funny. But in the meantime, while we're hopefully trying to bring him back, we do have, as I said, a couple of people who are waiting to hop on. I don't want to take any until Aron is like back with us. Actually, that's not true. Is it okay if I go ahead, Lux?
Yeah, you can take the cryptid one if you want.
That's what I was gonna do. Okay, folks, you guys know that I'm really into cryptids. I've been not very shy about this, and I'm the only person, perhaps on the entire Line network, who enjoys taking the cryptid calls and doesn't just enjoy taking them. I salivate at the idea of taking a cryptid call. I love them. They're some of my favorites. I don't believe in any cryptids, but I want to desperately. So we're going to take our first call. And by we, I mean me, while we're waiting for Aron, from Cameron, pronouns he, him, from Canada. He's an atheist. He's got a cryptid encounter story. He says it's most likely easily explained, but Erika would probably like it anyway. And I already know that I will. Cameron, welcome to SkepTalk with Just Guts at Gibbon for now. How you doing, my friend?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Good. Tell me about your cryptid encounter.
So this would have been almost 6 years ago now. While I was with the Army doing some training over out in the field. So this would have been Middle Alberta. Are you familiar with Wainwright?
I'm
so
familiar.
2 hours east of Edmonton.
Okay, gotcha. Keep going.
Yeah. So with the Army, you spend a fair amount of time out at night doing field exercises, and you get all sorts of your eyes play tricks on you. You hear shit. You see a lot of weird shit, right?
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, and you get used to telling the difference between what's your eyes playing tricks on you and what is something that's physically there. The way I always was able to tell is the senses would align on something. You wouldn't just hear something and see weird broken up movement. It was when you would hear things and see consistent movement with a consistent pattern and activity, and then you know, hey, I'm actually seeing something. So this one, I was in a trench position as part of the training, and staring down the hill, and I start hearing what at first sounds like a person walking around. And I'm debating whether or not to call it out, because it could just be one of the instructors walking around, or it could be one of the simulated enemy forces coming to attack us. I'm not really sure, so I'm paying attention to it, and it starts getting a lot louder than normal human footsteps. And so I'm thinking it's a deer. There's a lot of deer in this training area. I've seen buffalo in this training area. I've come in to set up a camp with my platoon, and we've had literally a herd of cattle sitting at our campsite that we have to chase out.
Very cool.
It's like wildlife encounters are not uncommon. So I'm expecting a fair-sized deer to come out of the tree line. And what comes out of the tree line certainly has antlers, except it's about 8 feet tall at the shoulder, walking like a person on its hind legs.
8 feet tall at its shoulder. And when you say antlers, are you meaning like the branching type of antlers that are typical of a cervid, or like just
yes, like a standard buck?
Okay, gotcha.
Just like a standard buck, but it is on its hind legs, and it's just walking from left to right, maybe 70 meters in front of me. It's not 100 meters in front of me, because I had a marker out there that I knew was 100 meters away that I could see at night.
Yeah.
And whatever this was, it walked like a person. Like, I've seen those videos of the extremely sick deer with the prion disease.
Yeah. Chronic wasting.
Up on their hind legs. Yes, chronic wasting. It wasn't moving like that. But it did go, like, it was swinging its arms like a person. I didn't see any head movement, but it certainly had a big brace of antlers, and it just walked from left to right. I turned to look at my buddy to see if he had seen anything, and he was just looking at a different direction, because you're supposed to look at different directions. Well, not different directions, but you have your angles that you're supposed to be watching. And so he heard it, but he didn't see it. And so, like I say, it's most likely super easily explained as maybe it was a deer with chronic wasting, and my brain is going, oh, well, I'm filling in the gaps because it's dark. Or maybe it was a deer in a piece of dead ground, and my brain was just filling in the rest of it, right? Like, it is very easily explainable, but I couldn't test it. Standing in a trench in minus 40, I can't go and check it out.
It's so tough when you've got like a weird one-off situation, because it's like, I trust my senses insofar as anybody can trust their senses. But I've seen weird stuff before too. I've gone camping a million times, and I've seen things that are like, off in the corner, out of the corner of my eye, large things, like it seems like you see movement or something like that. And it always turns out to be, nothing, or I'm looking into the dark, and I'm sort of, my brain is seeking to make an image out of something that is too low res for my brain to really parse. And so I end up filling in the blanks in ways that don't really make sense. I think outside of that, though, because I feel like you not hallucinated it in like a psychosis kind of sense, but just in your brain filling in the blanks kind of way.
Nighttime, you're sleep deprived, you're filling in blanks. I certainly believe I saw a deer. I believe at the end of the day, what I saw was a deer, and my brain was messing with me, but I can't prove that. And so coming to the line and seeing you always rave about how you want the cryptid encounters,
I love them.
I'd come share it.
I love them. I think it's cool because it sounds sort of like, you hear a lot of cryptid stories, Jersey Devil type things, or like the deer, maybe not with chronic wasting, but people talk about seeing like deer do weird things sometimes that are kind of spooky. I've always wondered in the back of my head when I see those pictures or those videos of cervids with prion disorders, I wonder what it would be like if like a caribou or like a moose even were to contract something like that. And if they did,
I've heard
if the behavior's
rumors
analogous,
of moose in that training area. I've never seen a
So-
moose in that training area, but I have heard rumors of them there. So
So,
that's
like-
something I hadn't considered, that it was just a moose wandering through.
It could be that. I mean, in my head too, I'm thinking like critters that are moderately sized or even like, I mean, do you guys have bear there?
Yeah, I'm certain we would have bear there. I've never run into one. I've run into
Sometimes-
porcupines, ravens, but no, I've never had
So
an
where I
encounter with
live-
a bear there.
Where I live, bear are really rare, but I have seen them before. And sometimes, I've seen them like a handful of times, but people will talk about how in the areas where they forage sometimes, because it's only black bear, and they'll forage in like berry patches and they'll end up with like foliage on their heads and on their backs sometimes. And it makes them look kind of creepy when they're slinking through the woods, at least in these thicker areas. So I wonder if it's possible too that you encountered something that was like quite a bit smaller than it seemed, but one, it's a forced perspective thing, and two, maybe it had a bunch of like sticks and leaves and stuff caught up in its headgear that made it seem more menacing.
I 100% think that there was a forced perspective thing there, because
Yeah.
when you're in a trench, you're a couple of feet down, so it's just like your head and upper chest coming up out of the ground, which really messes with your perspective.
Man, how cool though. What a spooky encounter.
Well, and this is
I
the
think
first time I've gotten to share that story in a way that isn't just like, oh, it's this spooky thing I saw out there. It's like, I don't know, somebody's actually looking for this story. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing that kind of stuff. And again, I mean, I think that there's a series of perfectly reasonable explanations for it, but that doesn't make it less scary in the moment when you're like, your ape brain sees it and you're like, that's a big thing that's moving too close to me and I don't like it. That thing could kick me in the head and kill me, you know what I mean? So it ends up being,
yes,
I
and
think that
why
adds
is
a lot.
nobody else seeing it?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Cameron,
What
I
if it-
love your story. We do have a lot of people waiting, and I kind of feel bad because I
Yes.
tend to drag on these calls a little bit longer than maybe I should. But please, if you have any more weird cryptid encounters, call back and tell me.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Take care.
You as well.
Aron, I was gonna let you weigh in on that, but you don't strike me as a guy who's really into cryptids.
Oh, I was so into cryptids once upon a
Dude.
time.
Okay, well, what were your thoughts? I should have done that while you were on. This is why you shouldn't make me host, Lux.
I'm embarrassed to say that I actually believed in Bigfoot until I was him.
Mm. Until you were him?
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean?
Quick story. I'm hitchhiking through the mountains of New Mexico on my way into Arizona. And I'm in an alpine forest. It's May. And I knew that I'm in a desert area to start with. It's hot, but I know it's going to get cold at night. I know I'm going to be in the mountains at night. So I brought a sweater, a big fuzzy sweater to keep warm at night once I was in the forest. When I find myself after Luna, New Mexico, I'm wandering miles and miles of winding mountain road, and there's nothing there, nobody, nothing. I realize that I'm being tracked by coyotes.
Oh my God. That's terrifying.
So I catch one. I turn around. I hear these noises around me. I turn around and I see one walking kind of counterclockwise around me, behind me, and then I turn around and there's another one walking counterclockwise the other way in front of me. And so I realize now I'm being surrounded by coyotes, and I am completely alone.
Yeah.
So I hear I'm starting to freak out a little bit. I
would
even
be. I
roared
would be
at them.
freaking out.
I roared at them trying to get them to disperse, but that didn't work. And then I hear a car coming through the mountain roads. I need to get attention. So there I am standing in the road. The headlights hit me. I raise my arms. I roar to make as much noise as I can so that they'll pull over and give me a ride. They dodge right past me.
You gotta know why they did that, right? Because you're in like a big puffy coat. You are the North American hominid, right? Like doing a defensive display in the middle of the New Mexico wilderness. You're
Couple
lucky
days
they
later,
slam into you.
I'm hitchhiking home. And I get a ride through that same area.
Yeah.
And these people are talking about how ranchers and such had seen and heard Bigfoot here a couple days
Bigfoot.
ago.
Oh man.
And it was
And they're
even in the
like,
newspapers.
no shit.
So yeah.
Tell me you clipped the newspaper out for that, right? And you're like, they're talking about me.
I'm hitchhiking through. I never even saw the newspaper.
Oh,
I'm just
that
getting the
sucks.
report from the person who's giving me a ride.
Yeah, that's brutal. Okay, side note though, I feel like we're skipping past the being stalked by coyotes because that in and of itself is very harrowing.
Yeah, eventually somebody did pick me up. It was a pickup truck. And the coyotes are getting really brave now.
Yeah.
I'm about to start kicking.
As they tend to.
I'm about to start kicking. I've never heard of coyotes attacking full-grown people, but it's about to be a fight. Pickup truck comes up, sees me. They pull over to the side of the road, and I ran and flew into the bed of their truck.
You're like,
I'm about to have to fight these little canids.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
The sad thing is it all in the back of the pickup truck already was a very large German Shepherd. I about shit myself.
Yeah. You're like, this is a, oh my God, taking over the car too. It's a very advanced tactical maneuver.
Yeah, such were my 20s.
Yeah, I've heard of very rare situations where coyotes are particularly brazen and will sometimes play around at getting at an adult human.
Maybe test you out, see how much fight can you be.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of them there were, and I still have a hard time believing, even in my 20s, that when it's hard for me to imagine a pack of them taking me down, but they were testing the idea, and I was getting weird about it.
I mean, it depends on how many there are too. Like I like to think that I can spread my arms out and make myself look kind of big, but if I don't think that I could handle very many coyotes. Like it doesn't take that many simultaneously biting at you to take you down. I'm more of the fight, flight, freeze. I'm a fleer. I jump and I'm running before I even realize I'm running. That's my strat.
Well, I know that doesn't work with dogs.
No, it doesn't. And I'm not that fast. For somebody who's a fleer, I'm not that fast.
So,
all right.
Do we have another caller?
We do. We got two. We have two callers. So we tend to give priority to theist callers. So while we do have an atheist caller who's been waiting for a little bit, and I love their question, Ray, hang on. Ray from Georgia, I should say, hang on, because I got a question about hominins. I'd love to chat with them. But we actually have a theist caller, Rainwood, pronounce he, him. He's a theist from New York, and he's got an interesting question here. He says, we have to address the fact that different ethnicities have different traits. So this is sort of like a race realism kind of call, I think. I'd love to dig into this.
My favorite calls.
Rainwood, you are live on SkepTalk with Erika and Aron. How are you, and can you hear us?
Yes, Erika. I've been following you and Aron for many years. Watched your debate, Kent Hovind. So it takes you back some time when he says a dog is a dog, and it's always going to be a dog.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many times you correct him.
No, he still has the same shtick. And I bought into it for a while, but you guys have helped me a lot. I wanted to touch on a subject it's kind of sensitive. It's a little bit awkward to talk about, but I just want to let you know out front, there might be people that are going to call me prejudiced, but I'm really not. I take people for who they are, but the facts remain the facts. Just like Aron was talking about a German Shepherd earlier, you have a German Shepherd and you have a Golden Retriever. My question is, they're both dogs, but one has got a different personality. Now, here's the touchy part that I'm going to touch on that's going to make everyone cringe a little bit. But black people dominate basketball, all kinds of sports. Boxing, basketball. They're stronger than white people. Can you
take a moment to figure out why that is? When you brought people over,
I'm thinking that
when you bring people over and you raise them,
but I don't know.
And you raise them as livestock, so that they will work, and those that don't work end up being, uh, systematically removed from the gene pool. So only the strongest, longest workers will be retained. See, you see that happening just over a matter of centuries.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I actually was going to bring that up, but you beat me to it, and I didn't know if evolution could be that swift, where in 300 years or so, they actually use black people, which is despicable in my eyes. Of course, anybody that realizes what they did, breeding them as cattle, they would breed the strongest and the tallest and the biggest, right?
So I'm going to
Would
take
that
a
be
little bit of I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach here. I'm not well versed enough in like the presence or lack thereof of physical differences or similarity of the people who were brought over against their will in the transatlantic slave trade to now. I don't know if that work has been done. I don't know if that's a concept that holds. I just don't know enough about the subject. What I do know is that when we look at the participation in major sports in the United States, there is definitely an often overlooked sociocultural factor here as to like what actually drives people to enter into sports, like what causes people to do professional sports, to try to find solace and success there. I think that that's a major
right?
reason why Black people tend to be in sports. Like this is like one of the only ways out for a lot of folks, right? To quote,
Well,
this is gonna make me look like like a
Erica,
dork, but to quote Biggie, right? You're either slinging crack rock or you got to wake a jump shot. Like it's pretty notorious that for people who are trapped in the inner city in this cycle of poverty, of intergenerational poverty, there aren't that many ways, like outroads out of this, right? Like it's super, super difficult because you're fighting against the tide from day one. Your school systems are less well funded. The people who are present in these school systems are just burnt out to hell. The people who are managing the communities are either intrinsic to the communities and they're trying their best, or they're outsiders coming in and they don't necessarily look at the community with the most sympathy or empathy. And what ends up happening is you end up with this cycle of people who are kind of stuck in place, and there are not very many outroads to break that cycle. From an educational standpoint, or from like a standard occupational standpoint, which is why professional basketball, professional football, music industry stuff tends to be like what a lot of these young people are trying to enter into because they see that as their way out. And so I think we have to consider that there's a
well,
self-selective factor going on here too.
There's more to it than that also.
well, Erica,
If you've ever have you ever
yeah,
been to
yeah,
Africa? Have you
I
ever been
haven't.
to Africa?
I have not.
Okay, well, you're talking about this generality that that black people are better than white people at sports, as if it's across the board. What you've got is a
Well,
market. What you've got is a market in this country that has been kind of trained to look for this type of athlete. So if you're a boxer and you're white, people automatically don't think that you're going to be any good. They will be looking for the black boxer. But if you go to Africa, where are you would think everybody's athletic, right? That everybody's going to be this, linebacker, boxer, whatever. They're not. There's just millions of people
right.
everywhere who are, in many cases, quite small, not athletic at all. What the hell? It's just the way that some in this country have been primed, and it's not just the people; it's also the market that's hiring them.
I think too, and Rainwood, I want to hear your perspective on this, but I want to throw one last sort of penny in the pot here. And that's that to frame this too as if it's like a racial thing, doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because when we look at the world stage for athletics competitions like the Olympics, they're not dominated exclusively by any one race. You know what I mean? Like the world's strongest
Well,
man competition, or like the sharpshooting competition, or arm wrestling competitions, or racing, or whatever. right? Like this isn't there one race as we conceive of it, which I would argue that race is not a biological reality, doesn't seem to rise above the rest. And so I don't think that holds water even empirically.
If we look at the strongest men, I would have to Google this, but I think the three strongest men are, I think, an Icelander and an Iranian, and then I think the third most strongest man is a black athlete. But again, I haven't looked this up because I can't even pretend to care about sports. Just how I am. I know so little about football that I can't even tell you who plays goalie for the Globetrotters.
Okay, boo. Sorry, Rainwood, I want to hear your perspective on this. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah, so, Erika, I have a problem with Jimmy, which is on the line, because he was, I happened to be off today, and I watched his show, and he thinks that black people are prejudiced against. They're still being prejudiced against. And I take issue with that. I take homage with that, because the thing is that I started off with the positive, that they're better in sports. And if I said, listen, I want affirmative action for basketball. I want there to be affirmative action or DEI for basketball. I want there to be 50% white and 50% black. The game of basketball would decline. People would see less good playing. It would just they're the best. For whatever reason, they're the best. At the same time, you can't ignore the fact that African American make up 13% of the population, and yet the prison population is overloaded. Now, here's where someone might
systematically and by design, by deliberate design.
Not true.
The prison systems were just the prison systems and our legal structure were set up deliberately to disproportionately target black and brown people.
Well, can we take Rainwood? Can we take a step back here and just like
you can disagree, but the public statements have been released.
Let me just address that one point in Aron. They go in for the same crimes 3-4 times. That's why they get in prison longer.
No,
but
sir.
Rainwood, that doesn't.
We're talking about going back to the Nixon administration, where his administration has admitted that certain laws, specifically drug laws, specifically marijuana, were designed. These laws were written so that they would disproportionately target black and brown people. The entire system of our country, from the beginning, in many ways, has been designed to be specifically oppressive to certain demographics.
For what purpose would it serve us to do that? If what purpose
would it serve us to keep oppressed another ethnicity when we want to believe that we're supremacist?
It's just not true. There's more black people making more money percentage-wise than white people than you've ever seen before. Commercials, movies.
So
football.
Can I weigh in here, Rainwood? Can I weigh in here?
There's no more affirmative action necessary. It's over.
Can I weigh in here?
They're equal.
All right, I'm going to weigh in. Sure. I'm just going to force myself and weigh in. So 1350 is kind of a goofy statistic. I guess that's probably using like too light of words for what it actually is. It's kind of a stupid statistic because it doesn't really tell the whole story. Black Americans lead white Americans when it comes to arrests, and they also lead when it comes to exonerations, right? So they lead when it comes to being shown innocent of a crime that they were previously accused of, which means that they are, if we're following basic definitions here, wrongfully accused and convicted of crimes more often than white people are. Why is that? If there's not some kind of institutional or systemic holdover here, why are they at such a high rate compared to other racial groups being accused of crimes and then being shown to be innocent of them?
Well, if you were to throw 100 green jelly beans into a jar and throw 5 white ones in there, the chances are you're going to pick out a green one, right? So they make up most of the population of the prisons. Now, we can examine why that is. We can examine
that's
why
the-
that is, but we can't
That's the
deny it.
point. But that's the point, is that they're making up more of the prison population because they're also being asymmetrically targeted for this kind
Yes.
of thing.
The
Not
statistics,
true. Not
statistics
true.
across the
It's
country.
just unequivocally false.
Hold
It's
on, hold on.
unequivoc- it's-
Hold on. The statistics across the country. Black man, white man, both carrying an AR-15 downtown somewhere. The white guy, a cop will pull up, and we've seen this on video. Cop pulls up, says, "What are you doing?" "I'm exercising my rights, officer." "Okay, have a good day." Black man does exactly the same thing. 6 police cars. He's down on the ground. He's arrested. Eventually, he'll be released, but he's going to go through all that trouble first. Black man, white man driving their car. The black man is more likely, statistically more likely to get pulled over, statistically more likely to be ticketed, statistically more likely to be charged, whether he's guilty or not. And we know that because they are also statistically more likely to eventually be let go if they can't get the charges to stick.
That's what I was saying.
So they're targeting these
Okay, you
people,
want
and
to know-
very
can I
often,
answer that?
those people cannot
Can I-
defend themselves adequately to stay out of prison. When they go to prison, they are more likely to serve longer sentences than white people do.
and
This
you
is
wanna
a
know the
system.
reason why? All right, Aaron, you got a white person and a black person. They both commit the same crime. They go before the judge. They both get the same sentence. The white
No.
guy gets out, never goes back.
They don't get the
The
same
black guy
sentence.
goes back and does. Listen, the black guy goes back and commits the same crime 2-3 times. That's why he gets
No,
longer
that's the white
sentences.
guy.
They don't learn from
The
their
white
left.
guy goes back and commits
No,
the same
that's not
crime
Wait,
true.
2 or 3
hold on,
times
hold on,
Not
hold on,
because
hold
the
on, hold
black
on.
guy
Look
didn't
it
get
up.
the same
It's
sentence.
not
The
true.
black
Anyway,
guy is still in
let's-
I'd
prison
like
for
to
the
talk
same
about-
crime.
I'd like to
Can I
talk
please
about
have a
why this
citation for that, Rainwood?
why this
Like,
is happening, but you can't
Rainwood,
deny
Rainwood,
it's
please.
happening.
I
Please.
can deny that it's happening in any kind of a natural way. It doesn't have the implications that you're talking about. It is a system. We've been telling you how it's been set up to disproportionately target certain people. Black and brown
Not
people are
true.
more likely to face more adversity
Wait.
than other people.
Rainwood,
All
then
right, so
why?
That's the fact.
if you're the police,
Then why
if you're-
is it? Well,
if
hold on,
you're the
Rainwood. Let me hold on, hold on,
I'm
hold on.
sorry.
Please. I
Go
just want
ahead,
to say
go ahead.
one thing. One, what I want to do
Sure.
is I want to hear a citation for that claim that you just made, that black people are overwhelmingly more likely to reoffend than white people are. I'd like to, on racial bounds, right? I'd like to hear that.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Residual crimes.
Okay.
They do residual crimes over and over
I'll
again.
look it up then when I get a second. The second thing is, we know that this is based off of racial prejudice in part because I was just looking it up because I didn't remember the details of it, but there was a 2021 study that looked at the ratio of black people versus white people being pulled over, and black people were something like 60% more likely to be pulled over than white people were in the daytime. And then when it's dark outside, those numbers equalize because cops can't tell the race of the person that they're pulling over. That doesn't make any sense unless there's some residual
Right.
prejudice going on
Well,
here, right?
Here's one for you.
Well,
I
it's
thought
fine
this was
now.
strange.
If you're in
My
charge-
mother
ahead.
is driving her car. We're on road trip together. It was a long time ago. My mother's driving down the road. She's in an old Cadillac. She's in the kind of Cadillac that at the time would be more typical of a black family to drive. I think stereotypically, if you like, the kind of Cadillac that she was in. She got pulled over for going 71 in a 70 at dusk. The cop came up, shined a flashlight in her face, and let her go. Why? Nobody can explain that, can they? Except that they thought my mom was black. That's why they pulled her over in the first place.
Can I address that?
How could you?
I could address
She
it.
gave you a
because
study.
there's probably
There are
black-
many studies about this. I gave you an admission from the Nixon administration. There are many other admissions like this. How are you going to address that?
Hello?
You're still with us. Go ahead, Rainwood. Give answer
Oh, I'm
Aaron's question
sorry,
there.
Erika.
All good. Just go ahead.
There are black people that get pulled over and they get released as well. And there are black police officers out there that arrest black people all the time.
And there are black judges who
problem
get
is-
pulled over for
the
driving
problem is-
expensive
The
cars.
problem is that we are perpetuating prejudice in this country by having
Yes.
affirmative action.
No.
by having
Wrong.
DEI.
Wrong thing. Same tactic, wrong
Let me
thing.
just finish. Can I finish?
Prejudice is being
can I please-
perpetuated, which is why the better candidate, if they're black or brown, would be overlooked so that more white guys could be hired. And then you have this standard thing where you have to apply, you have to do the larger body, test everybody. Don't just look at the white candidates. You have to consider the black and the brown ones too, and then hire the best candidate. But white people think, well, that means that the better candidate won't get hired. No, the better candidate is getting hired now, where they wouldn't even have been considered before.
That's
I also
not
just
true.
looked. I also just looked into the recidivism stats, and I just want to say I looked into the recidivism stats while you guys were talking, and the difference between Black people and white people generally and reoffense rates within the first 3 to 5 years is about 6 to 7%. I just clicked off the screen, so forgive me if that's incorrect, but it's about 6 to 7%. The difference in poverty rates between Black people and white people, like people who are living below the poverty line, is like 10 to 12%. So the poverty statistics, not only do they make sense, not only do they make the data that we're seeing actually explicable, but at least in my opinion, at face value, I'm not an expert on criminology or anything like that, but it kind of seems like Black people are reoffending at lower rates than they should compared to white people, given their respective ratios in poverty.
That's true,
Maybe I'm an idiot.
But they are still being convicted at a higher rate and sentenced for longer rates.
So how does that make sense, Rainwood?
What? First off, why would there be a conspiracy to lock up Black people? And the other thing is that I wanted to mention before.
There's a good question. Why don't you answer me that? Since the United States has been explicitly racist
I let you guys go
since our founding and before, why has it been that way? Explain. Why has the United States always been such a racist country, systemically?
I got thrown off I was in the middle of a sentence, so I don't know what your question was. Say it again.
The United States has been explicitly racist, systemically racist, since before its founding. There's the fact. You want to explain that fact? Because that fact explains all the other ones that we were just talking about.
Yeah. What we did to this race of people is despicable. It's despicable.
And what we're still doing?
We're not still doing it. It's people that are perpetuating.
We're not still doing the disproportionate arrests and convictions with longer sentences for Black people. We're not still doing what the studies show that we're still doing. If the studies show that we're still doing it, guess what? We're still doing it. That's the fact. You want to explain the fact, or you just want to explain your feels?
Yeah. If you're a police captain and you have 2,000 cops on the beat, and you have to put them in a Black neighborhood, a white neighborhood that's very low in crime, or a medium rating area, you're going to divide them accordingly for the crime. You could. I live in an area.
Help you here.
You could put 150. Let me just finish, Aron.
Okay.
I live in an area where you could put a policeman on every corner. He'll be sitting there scratching his balls all day long because nothing's going to happen. There's no crime here. So
the only difference between you and the people that raised me? Your accent.
I have no idea. You can tell me.
Yeah, the accent is it. Yeah, because I was raised by a bunch of racist dickheads, except they had a different accent than you. That's it.
It's not
racist. So very racist. You actually said that the Black people are committing more crimes than the white people. I'm gonna remove you. I'm gonna remove you. Just learn how to shut up when I'm talking. This is my show. I start talking, you stop.
I'm sorry.
Erika, you have anything more?
I really don't. Rainwood, I think that it would behoove you to look into some of the studies that we brought up here in this conversation, because I've heard what you're saying here, and I don't think that meshes with what these studies are bearing out. I think that these studies speak to a very real and present undercurrent that's persistent, that's been persistent throughout the years of a prejudice on the basis of race. Now, we could sit here and discuss why that prejudice exists, because that's a conversation that is very deep roots in this country as well, right? But I think first things first, you're coming on here and saying that you feel that DEI has overstayed its welcome because racism was cured in the United States. And I just don't think that that's true. I don't think that the literature bears that out.
That very statement is itself racist.
Yeah.
Can I ask one last question, and then I'll politely say goodnight to you?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. If you had, this is where I'm going to switch off a little bit. If you had two dogs, one's a German Shepherd and one is a Golden Retriever, which one are you going to be more afraid of?
I'm actually just going to interrupt really quick. I'm sorry, you guys are wrapping up. I want to just mention the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution it's the thing that made slavery illegal, except as punishment for a crime. So the quote-unquote conspiracy to incarcerate Black people is a way of legally maintaining a slave class in the United States. There's a deliberate reason for it.
Yep. And we've had government officials admit to that.
I want to answer Rainwood's question here, because I find it gravely offensive to compare human racial groups, which themselves aren't biological realities, to dog breeds, which are animals that we've intentionally bred for centuries to have certain characteristics. I also want to say that I wouldn't be more or less afraid of either of those dog breeds if all I had was the information on the breed that they were. But to compare those somehow to the false category of human races in the first place.
Erika, I'm talking to you as a macroevolutionist.
I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, well then let me help you with something.
There's zero support whatsoever for the biological reality of race.
Hold on a minute, Mr. Rainman. Since you said that you're a macroevolutionist, then let me help you with something. Darwin said himself in 1871 that there is only one race. He said all these people that are talking about the different races of people, there were different races of people. There were Denisovans. There were Neanderthals.
Christian.
What?
Sounds like you're becoming Christian. You're becoming a Christian live on the TV.
How? No, I don't even want to know how.
I don't think you want to go down that
road. Darwin said there is only one race. There used to be more diversity among people. There used to be the kind of diversity that you're talking about, like between dogs and such. Once upon a time.
And there were
tens of thousands of years ago.
When's the last time you went to a Jewish restaurant and said, "Oh, this Jewish food is so good"? They're great people, but they don't. You want to go to an Italian restaurant, right?
On what grounds, though, are you arguing that human races, again, not a real biological category, reflect onto differences as large as what we see in dog breeds? Please tell me your support for that. Like, I really need to hear that right now.
Well, Italians have their own personality. Irish have a personality.
No,
I really don't think that's true.
There's different foods, from the foods that they eat.
Rain Man, I'm gonna dump you now.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I do it because I addressed you on your own turf, and you don't like it.
But you didn't. You didn't follow any studies. All you've got is your prejudice, paranoia, propaganda. That's it. You don't have any support for it. You said you're an evolutionist, but you refused Darwin arguing against you.
Hey, Rainwood, I'm gonna drop the call. I'm sorry. I don't think we're gonna get. Okay. All right. I'm dropping the call. I dropped it. I really don't think we're gonna be able to get anywhere if the answer to what's your support for the biological reality of race is Italians eat Italian food. Like, I don't think we can get past that. Wow.
Yeah, that was painful.
That was a foul start.
That with as I said, a very different accent. If you give them a hillbilly accent where everybody talks like they're on, Andy Griffith's show, that's the people that raised me. His arguments in that accent.
But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's such a vibes-based argument, and the vibes aren't even legitimate in and of themselves. Like, it's just layers of illusory argument all the way down, and then you get to the center of the Tootsie Pop here, and it's nothing but weird hate. I don't know. Like, what do you do with that? You can't argue with that kind of perspective.
When you get a dog, and we have a lot of rescue dogs. We've fostered and gotten homes for a number of rescue dogs over the years. When you get a dog from the shelter, you don't know what kind of dog it is. Obvious. I mean, it's not always obvious. So sometimes, if we're curious about it, we'll get a genetic test, and it'll tell us how much of Pit Bull Terrier and how much of Akita or whatever else it is. Now, when you do that with people, since we are all the same, as what Darwin would have described a race, we are all the same race. We are not like the different breeds of dogs. If you went back 100,000 years, then yeah, you could find people that were more diverse than that. Something comparable, perhaps, to dogs, where even though it's one species might have a dramatically different brain size than another member of that same species elsewhere on the planet. Things like that. But Darwin's talking about how there's only one ethnicity or one race left, as he understood the race to mean. And I get upset when people accuse Darwin of being racist after having made that groundbreaking statement. He called out all of the anthropologists of his day to say that they were all fools, that they all contradicted each other, to then say that there is only one race. Was it Louis Agassiz? Somebody else, 16 years later.
I was just going to say that same point. His biggest opponent, Louis Agassiz, was a polygenist on the grounds of creationism, right? Because he felt God had independently created all of the races, and that sort of the white race was this sort of pinnacle. That's what Adam and Eve were, and all the others were denigrated below this. I mean, it deserves to be mentioned here, right, that all humans today share such a massive portion of our actual genetic diversity. Like, we just don't vary that much compared to other critters. Our genetic diversity is incredibly low. And on top of that, when you create a phylogenetic tree or a family tree at the population level, you take, a person from Papua New Guinea and a person from Norway and a person from Brazil and a person from Argentina and a person from Canada, and you sequence their genomes insofar as you can do it end to end, and then you create a family tree based off of that. We all nest within the diversity that's found in Africa, because that's the origin place of humans.
One thing that people don't realize, that chimpanzees are not a single group. They're four. They are more distinct than humans. Chimpanzees are four distinct subsets, at least two clear subsets of gorillas, at least three clear subsets of orangutans. Humans, one.
Yeah. And the diversity itself is incredibly low. I always, whenever I have this conversation with race realists too, they are petrified of the genetics on this, right? They want to sit and they want to say, if you've got, dark skin or a specific face or eye shape or specific limb length or whatever, that makes you belong to one race. They have no concept that we see these same characteristics pop up over and over and over again with regard to skin color and face shape and limb length, because humans are under the same natural selection that everything else is, and we convergently evolve these characteristics on the basis of where we live. That does nothing to change the fact that we have such little genetic diversity and we all nest so close together. But they don't want to have that conversation, which is why we're stuck with a vibes-based argument of, like, what if races are like dog breeds? I mean, I see this shit on Twitter. It's unreal.
I don't go to Twitter anymore.
That's smart. You shouldn't do it. It's a cesspool. Although I will say it was a delight to be on Twitter late last night when Donald Trump posted the Truth Social picture of him as Jesus Christ healing Jeffrey Epstein. Twitter was very funny when that happened.
I didn't catch that he was healing Jeffrey Epstein.
Look at the picture of the guy. If that's not Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know who else that is.
I'm looking at Trump dressed as Jesus, pretending that he didn't know that that's Jesus. That Trump's excuse was that he wasn't comparing himself to Jesus. He was just being a doctor.
I can't.
He thinks that's what doctors look like.
I can't. And if you look at the original, because Nick Adams is huffing the Trump galaxy gas 24/7, so he was the one who originally did this AI generated picture. And in the original version, it's still psychotic, mind you. But the soldiers who are above Trump Christ's head in the background. They're all normal people. They're normal looking people. And in the one that Trump posted, one of them is just like a demonic eldritch entity that's like looming and coming down to smite the non-believers. That's a very bizarre. He's not beating insofar as someone can match the characteristics of the Antichrist, he's not beating the allegations. It's really
I made a video about
incredible.
that recently, showing how Trump meets all the criteria to be the Antichrist.
It's crazy.
And if I was Christian, I honestly would believe that he is the Antichrist.
Well, this is what you miss when you're not on Twitter, because MTG was like, these vibes are demonic. She was like, this is Antichrist vibes right here. And it's like, if she's saying that, like, we're not in a good place. Okay, let's see.
He's the one who said that the Jews control the weather.
That's true. Well, via space laser, so indirectly, but we got some other calls on the line here. Let me see. Okay, we're gonna do Ray pronouns they them from Georgia. They're an atheist, and they've got questions on hominins, because I think we could probably do this pretty quickly. And then we've got a call that I think is gonna piss Aron off, so it's gonna be really funny. Ray, welcome to SkepTalk. Can you hear us?
Just disclaimer, I am really nervous. That comment you made earlier about saying, like, when Aron responded to your email and was immediately, you're like, oh my God, YouTubers are people too. Mood. Big mood. So I've been meaning to call in for a couple of months. I have two, like, one more specific question and then one that's a little bit more general. So the specific one is about, I don't remember the exact, like number, whatever, of the specimen, but the Dakika child, to my knowledge, that specimen was like 3 years old when it died. No? Or was it?
Yeah, thereabouts. It's
one
a
that was
juvenile
3 years
kid.
Okay. Got it. So, as I've been thinking about this, I was like, oh yeah, Australopiths probably had like much shorter life histories in comparison to humans. So I'm not sure if it's like entirely like a valid question now. But in the case that we were to find like an Australopithecine or other hominin that was like the like equivalent to like a toddler, I don't really know if they would have that, because I know that like other hominids only have like the infant and the juvenile and the adult stage, I think.
Yes. Yeah. You're correct on that. Yes.
So in the case that we would find something like that, I watched a video of yours like a while ago where somebody was trying to compare like a natal chimp skull to a natal human skull or something like that, and said that they had like a lot of similarities. And you pointed out that natal anatomy is going to be a lot more similar across different species than adult anatomy and stuff like that. So in that case, if we found like a very, very, very young specimen, how would we be able to parse what specific species it would be, and like how difficult would that actually be?
So that's actually a great question. How do you determine the characteristics? How do you parse out the characteristics as being unique to a species, or, you know, quote unquote, more along the line of genus Homo versus it's just young? And we saw this actually play out with Australopithecus sediba, Lee Berger's named species from 2010 at the Malapa site in South Africa. And when he initially published this stuff, he was like, I found essentially the base of genus Homo, because the cranium of MH1 looked really like, it shared a lot of similarities with Homo habilis and Homo rudolfensis, to the exclusion of the Australopiths. And so he was like, you know, maybe we should call this Homo sediba instead of Australopithecus sediba. But the problem was, when you took that cranium and you looked at the tooth eruption patterns, it was young. It was a juvenile, right? And so what we realized is that MH1 doesn't look more like Homo because it's more like Homo. It looks more like Homo because it's a kid. Right. This is a class. I think Bill Kimball was on that paper, was one of the authors on that paper that came out and proposed that it's like, no, it doesn't look like Sediba is all that much more derived than the other members of Australopithecus. So that's how we figured it out, is you take the characteristics that look derived and you compare them to how old the specimen actually is, which you can glean based off of how many of the teeth have erupted, the closure of the epiphyseal plates or these growth plates along the long bones, as well as the presence of certain suture closures on the cranium. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I want to congratulate you
so
on,
how
on
would
having
you-
noticed. I want to congratulate you on having noticed one of the laws of evolution, one of the natural laws. It was a book that Ernst Mayr had written about what Darwin's explanation, and he took some of the mechanisms that Darwin was talking about, and he described them in terms of laws. And one of them is that the young of two species will be more alike than the adults are, of two closely related species, I mean, because it follows an evolutionary pattern, right? We are more similar in our youth to gorillas and to orangutans and chimpanzees and whatnot than we are as adults. You can see how we become more distinguished from each other. And this pattern holds true throughout evolution.
Yeah, that's actually something that feels almost like really intuitive to me, considering the like embryonic development pattern and how like it kind of goes all the way back to like a freaking blastula, basically. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had work today. I'm a little bit tired. But,
please, you're doing great.
So with the Australopithecus sediba, that was like a brand new species. However, if we found something and we weren't sure about it, but we ended up attributing it to a pre-existing category, like one that we already have a name for, how would we do that?
So what you would do is you would look
like
for
the teeth, because I know the teeth are really, really similar, like in one species, I guess.
No, you're dead on with your instincts there. So in mammals, right, teeth are super characteristic, and usually when we're talking about species in paleontology, especially in hominins, slight differences in the teeth can tell you that you're at least looking at a different population. So the nice thing about teeth is
I remember you saying that about.
Yeah, perfect. So when teeth first erupt, right, they're
saying that about one of the newer objects.
Yeah, they're probably diramata. So when teeth first erupt, they're really unworn. And so what you can do is you can look at the cusps, or the topography, I guess it would be a more simplistic way of thinking of it for people who are listening at home. And you can see how the cusps of the kids compare to the cusps of the adults, because the actual cusping of those teeth that are in the crypt that haven't erupted yet, those are going to be similar across two shared species, because they're both the sets of adult teeth. They just haven't erupted in the kid yet. Right? Assuming you're in the proper age range for that. But even then, even for the deciduous canines, even for the deciduous set of teeth in general, there's going to be similarities that last from the kid dentition to the permanent dentition. And you can use those to compare across taxa to let you know whether or not you're looking at members of the same species or not, which is incidentally part of how we knew Dakika and also Tong belong to Afarensis and Africanus, respectively. Well, I guess not Tong, retroactively Tong, because Tong was the type for Africanus.
Got it.
She won't leave me alone.
Thank you so much. That explains a lot.
Of course. Check out retained neoteny, and if you'd like, you can go on Google Scholar and you can basically look at the literature searches or do a literature search for like a review of development in hominins, and then go to the citation list, and that's going to give you a whole awesome baseline to look into this stuff further if you're interested.
Okay, and neoteny is Neotany?
Eny, I believe.
Neoteny. Okay, and then the second question is a little bit more broad. My apologies. So I'm kind of a nerd. I'm an artist, and recently I made this little Paranthropus OC, but she's generalized Paranthropus, because I cannot find any individual papers going into in-depth diagnostic criteria for the different species within Paranthropus or Australopithecus. The most that I've found are like, you go onto Google search and you go, okay, Paranthropus boisei, and you look it up and it shows like one like facial reconstruction, and you're like, okay, I can use this as like a very vague base. And then I go Paranthropus robustus. And then you search it up and you find the exact same picture. So I don't know which one it's supposed to be attributed to. And it's just like kind of useless. I can't find any papers just laying out diagnostic criteria with other stuff not involved.
So I don't know how much you've got at your disposal, but this is something like cash-wise, but if this is something that you're interested in long-term, I cannot recommend enough this absolute beast of a textbook. It's not even a textbook. It's like a reference book called Cenozoic Mammals of Africa. It's every Cenozoic mammal that we know of from Africa, from like the Cenozoic's origin to now. It is an absolute monster of a book. And in the hominin section, they include very detailed descriptions of the type specimen, the paratypes, the entire assemblage, what we know from these species and how they can actually be distinguished from other members of their genera, and then how that genus can be distinguished from other such genera, sister genera.
Is that Donald Prothero?
It's not Prothero, but Prothero's probably on it. So Prothero's probably in it because it's got like a dozen, maybe 50 plus authors, right? Like let me show you the book. It's a beast.
I am not currently on the stream because the echo was awful.
Come back and check it out when you get a minute. This is the book.
Okay.
It's an absolute monster. It's titled Cenozoic Mammals of Africa by Lars Werdelin and William Joseph Sanders. It's got 1 million sub-authors, right? Just here,
That's
Paleogene.
just of Africa.
Just Africa. This is just the Paleogene Prosimian chapter, right? Like this is they've got wonderful illustrations of the fossil material, pictures of the fossil material. They'll talk about subfossil lemurs of Madagascar. I'm in the primate section because that's what mine always opens up to. You've got perissodactyls, you've got proboscideans, you've got extinct groups, even like anthracotheres. This is a must-have if you're interested in this kind of thing. But I'm warning you, it's a beast of a book and it's kind of pricey.
I'm going to be so honest. So I'm not going to be, I'm in college right now, and I'm not going to be majoring in like any sort of, I'm not going to be majoring in like, I can't do English. I'm so sorry.
Don't sweat it. You're all good.
Anatomy type stuff. But I am majoring in like minoring in hominin evolution type stuff. So I'm going to major in biology and then minor in evolutionary neuropsychology. So
amazing.
It's not really entirely touching on that, but I'm really excited. Thank you so much. That's phenomenal.
Check out too. I'm going to say check out too the Smithsonian's Human Origins website is a really great jumping off point, especially for reference material, because they'll just be like, here is the most popular image that you've probably seen of this hominin, and then here's a little bit of information on it and some additional reading that can give you a really good jumping off point for going on and doing literature searches and things like that.
Okay, that's awesome. Those are all the questions that I had.
I think you speak English like a native.
Oh man, thanks.
Take care, my friend.
Well, I hope you guys
and
have a
email
wonderful
me
night.
if you've got any more questions, Ray.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Y'all have a wonderful night. All right.
You
Bye.
too. Oh, they hit me with the yes, ma'am. I'm getting ancient.
You should be teaching.
I do teach, Aron. When I'm not writing my dissertation, I teach. I'm just not teaching this semester or last semester because I'm supposed to be finishing my dissertation, which isn't finished. So ask me again later. I'm trying my hardest to get a gig. I'll say I have some leads on what might become a postdoc for me, which would involve quite a bit of teaching, and I'm really excited for it, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, you're good at it. So that's what you need to be doing.
Well, all right, Aron. Be too sweet. How about I repay you with a call that's going to make you maybe mad? Here's our next call. We got Pete K, pronouns he, him, from Massachusetts. Pete's a theist. And he says, what is the ultimate goal of die-hard atheists? Which is an interesting kind of question. Pete, can you hear us? You are on SkepTalk with Erika and Aron.
Yeah, I can hear you guys, but I am on speakerphone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I can hear you just fine, and Aron can too. So tell us a little bit more about your question, or your proposition, maybe.
Yeah, it's not really a proposition. It's just a curiosity question. I've seen a lot of atheist talk shows for a while, and yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, what is the ultimate goal of like diehard atheists? And when I say diehard atheists, I mean like people who call in and support the show and that sort of thing. I wonder what, I mean, is it to prove to the world once and for all that no God exists? Are you guys trying to make a case that's just so convincing, so rock solid that even the top theists, the top Christian apologists on the planet wouldn't stand a chance trying to argue the case you've made? Like, is that what you're? Anyway, yeah.
Honestly,
I'm rambling on like usual.
It's just whether you care about the truth or not. That's all it is. To my experience, believers, their belief matters more to them than whatever the truth is. And for me, the truth matters more than whatever I would rather believe. That's it.
Well, what idiot doesn't believe that?
The idiots in control of our government right now, at the moment, for example, all of them. They maintain
really
a belief that is not supported by any evidence at all, that is contradicted by profound evidence to the contrary, not just physical evidence, not just empirical evidence, logic as well. So they argue against logic
tell me
and
this.
What?
Okay, so why did you vote for them?
I didn't.
No, I was just messing with you for a second, just seeing if you had a sense of humor, which you do. I got to tell you, dude, one time I saw you on one of these shows, and like the background, the green screen, it was like a old beat up mental institution or rusty cell or something. It was kind of bizarre.
I have a passion. The backgrounds I use are usually abandoned mansions. There's just something about the vibe that I love about those. That's what's behind me right now. The only modification I made was framing Ozzy from the Speak of the Devil album.
Yeah, Ozzy. Too bad he died. Hey, did you ever? I'm sorry, I'll go off on a tangent. But go ahead, just take over.
So if I were to tell you, if we're in a cafeteria somewhere and you hear me talking to somebody else and I say that Benjamin Franklin was the first president of the United States, would you feel a motivation to correct me?
I don't know the situation. I mean, like if I'm sitting next to you, I've never met you, and you're talking to someone else, so you're not talking to me.
And I say that Benjamin Franklin, I'm not agreeing with him. Benjamin Franklin was the first president of the United States. Would you correct me?
No, I wouldn't.
Why not?
It's just not my place to do that.
I don't understand why not. See, I would, because my compassion for other people, the person who just said something that stupid, I don't want them to go out in the world saying things that are that stupid. I want them to understand that what they just said is wrong so that they will get better. If I said something that stupid,
no.
I want you to correct me so that I don't continue to say things that are that stupid.
No. You're Aron, you're looking at this the whole wrong way. You got to take a few steps back and see what's what, and what's just going to make the world a better place all around. And yes, I'm talking the truth.
Okay, then we should definitely talk about the truth. We should not assert baseless speculation as if it's a matter of fact. We should never say that anything is true or the truth until we can show the truth of it, the evidence leading exclusively to that conclusion. We should be provisional on all things. If we can't show it, then we don't know if it's true. right? We don't, if we can't
So we
show that
can't
it's
even
true, then we don't
speak
know
it?
if it's true. We shouldn't say that it is. Making up your own statistics
can't
is
speak that.
lying. Pretending to know things you don't know, that's lying. I know that's what faith is all about, pretending to know things you don't know, but it's still dishonest. So if you
I'm not
care
a fan of
about
faith.
truth, and that's understanding things accurately, if you want to improve your
I'm not
understanding,
sure if
that means you want to seek out the flaws in your current perception and correct them, right? Did we lose him?
Been kicked off the show. I don't know.
You're still here, my friend.
Okay. I guess I have to stop watching the screen. All
You can do
I'm sorry,
whatever you
where
want.
were we?
You
Hey, well,
were
yeah, I
about to
can't remember the topic. I was just kind of wondering what the ultimate goal is of a diehard atheist.
Truth.
Okay, truth. That's great. I like truth too.
Yeah, which means don't lie. And if you don't lie, then you can't preach.
You can go to hell for lying.
Yeah, no. God doesn't care about that. God himself brags about lying.
All right, so what is the answer? I mean, come on, you got to do better than just truth. I mean, one-word answer. I mean, it's a talk show.
I said I am an
rating.
atheist because I want to improve my understanding. I don't want to be fooled into believing something that is not evidently true. I will remain open to the possibility. Maybe this is true, maybe this isn't, but I remain unconvinced.
Me too.
The believer
Me too.
is determined to make believe a thing that is not supported by evidence, that is actually contradicted by overwhelming evidence, but they don't care. They're going to believe anyway. And then they're going to lie about it by asserting baseless speculation as if it was a matter of fact.
You talk in very long sentences, which makes it hard for me to, well, I don't want to use the word debate, but talk back and forth with you, converse. But go ahead and take over. It's your show.
Well, I mean, I asked you, if I said something that is factually false, would you show me the courtesy of correcting me? And you said no, because it's not your place. I guarantee, if I'm sitting in a cafeteria next to you or whatever, we're just having lunch, we're not even talking to each other, you're talking to somebody else, and you say something like that Columbus discovered Ohio in 1942, I'm gonna chime in. If I know it's not a joke, if I think you sincerely believe that, I'm going to be helpful to you and I'm going to correct you. Now, if you tell me after that you have a right to believe in wrong things, that you have a right to still believe in things we can prove to be false, well, now I'm going to back away because I can see where you are. Truth doesn't matter to you. But if truth and accuracy matters, then you're going to want to be corrected. And everybody, in my perspective, everybody should care about truth. Everybody should want to be correct.
Am I supposed to be speaking now? Because no one said, "Hey,
you can do whatever you want." I figured this was more a type of question that was up Aron's alley, anyways, and so I'm kind of just leaving it to the two of you guys to discuss if you'd like. So when it goes quiet, when Aron finishes a sentence, and then there's a lull for a minute, that's on you. If you'd like to respond, go nuts.
Okay, I don't even have my. Am I supposed to be following? Is there a delay of the screen or what? I'm sorry, I don't pay attention to the show. I don't know how it works.
There's probably a delay on the stream on YouTube, so I would not worry about looking at the screen on YouTube. I would worry just about what you're hearing from the call
itself. There's definitely a delay
Okay.
on the screen on YouTube, so don't look at the screen.
I'm not looking at the screen anymore. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I forgot what the question. I can't remember.
What is the point of theism? I mean, you're told that you had better believe whatever we tell you, believe it without evidence, believe it without question, without reservation, without reason. Believe whatever we said just because we said so and for no other reason than that, or else you'll suffer a fate worse than death. What's the point of that?
You are wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong.
Well, no, I'm
almost
not.
everything you
But
just said was
I will
incorrect.
welcome you to try to correct me, and let's see if you get any kind of an epiphany when you realize why you can't correct me on this.
Dude, you know what you need to do? You need to mellow out.
Okay,
Unwind.
tell me why you just lied to me
Tight.
3 times. You just told me I was wrong about 3 things that I'm definitely right about. So, how am I wrong?
Recap what you said, and I'll tell you.
Oh,
You
man.
knew that I was wrong, but you didn't know what I said. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I mean before that. No. It was before that.
Hey, Pete, I don't know that we're necessarily going to get anywhere on the call if you're not paying super close attention to what Aron is saying. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're going to be able to have a dialogue if he's got to repeat himself like 8 times.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, what I'm going to do is just flat out ask you, if you don't mind answering that. Are you allowed to answer that question?
No, they keep me on a tight leash here. I'm only allowed to answer some questions. Yes, I can answer your question.
You're good.
So what's your question?
I just said it. Well, I'm sorry. I'll say it again. The question I'd like to ask you, what is the ultimate goal of diehard atheists?
I don't even think I know what you mean when you say diehard atheism. I think you're kind of getting at the point of this channel, which is more of a humanist bent, which includes either atheism or agnosticism, or if you want to count agnosticism as a type of atheism. And typically the purpose of that is in part, as Aron said, to believe is the highest amount, I guess, of true things and the smallest amount of false things as possible, but also to create a community for people who also hold these perspectives and to open ourselves up to be challenged on those perspectives. Because that kind of goes part and parcel with wanting to believe the most amount of true things, is saying, look, I have these perspectives, and if you think I'm wrong, come tell me why. Right?
The goals belief system has required beliefs and prohibited beliefs. You were told that you had better believe this, and you're not allowed to believe that. And it doesn't matter what the evidence is. You have to believe this whether it's true or not, and don't ever question it, because heresy, apostasy, and blasphemy are all damnable crimes.
Yeah, this is what I was saying you were wrong about. Because we can think whatever we want, period. I mean, there's none of this force it down your throat. What are you talking? Were you part of a cult or something?
Well, take this for example, Pete, right?
No, and I'm not wrong. I said that theists are taught to believe exactly what their preachers say. They are taught that heresy, that if you question it, that's damnable. That if you stop believing it, that's damnable. Blasphemy, if you don't believe it at all, that's damnable. Those are all correct. You're told to believe things and you're also told other things that you're not allowed to believe. That's a belief system. I advocate for free thought.
You didn't hear a word I said. You didn't hear a word I said. You really didn't.
Well, then, repeat yourself clearly.
I think I got to go smoke a couple of J's first.
You said I was wrong. I have documentation that I'm right. You said I'm wrong. How am I wrong? I have so many sermons that I can cite from.
Dude, are you trolling, Pete?
I'm trying to answer.
Pete, are you trolling? Are you messing with us?
Ma'am, I don't even. Erika. Why is it when I'm talking, he just talks over me?
He is trolling.
I don't really know what to say about that.
But all right, regardless, you didn't answer the question. And I'm not trolling.
Okay, I was just asking. You said you need to go smoke a couple J's. I thought you might be trolling. That seemed like something a troll might say. So I was just asking.
No. I'm just trying to keep this light because Aron, for some reason, is just like really so wound up so tightly. Like the guy has to mellow out. That's why I was joking about smoking a couple of J's.
If you want me wound up tight, then get me on dope. Otherwise, if you want me to stay loose and quiet, then keep me off the weed. I'm good. But if you want me to be wound up tight, call me a liar again. I don't lie. That's why I'm not a Christian.
Dude.
I'm gonna say, Aron, I've said my piece on this. If you guys want to keep talking,
I think I've said mine.
It's your prerogative. So, okay, Pete, you got anything else you want to say before we let you go? Because we got a couple other calls we got to get to.
I wish that Aron would consider being a little more open-minded.
I'm way more open-minded than you. So why don't you take your own advice?
Okay, thanks, Pete. Call back in another time. We'll do this again. All good, dude. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. See, I thought that one might be a little bit of some ants at your picnic, Oren. We have, let's see here. Let's do just the next call, or actually, I think we do.
Okay, before we do that, I was actually looking forward to this in trying to explain the atheist position. How it should just be innate that you don't believe things without evidence, that you don't say things are true until you can show and thus know that they are true, because it would be dishonest to say things are true that you don't know to be true, right? But believers never get that. I want to believe it, so I'm going to say it's true. Then you're a liar.
I think a portion of it has to be, I mean, I think it's hard to have any conversation about like religious perspectives without considering that people oftentimes have had like experiences that are by their nature subjective. You know what I mean? But it's like that's not something that can be used really to convince you or I, right? Like people have these experiences and they're like, I know it's true because of this experience. And it's like, but that doesn't translate to me. How do you know extrinsic to that? How can we know that it's true objectively outside of just your individual experience? And then that's where we run into problems, I think, a lot of the time. We're just going to go right down the list. I keep sliding off my chair. I'm getting just so excited about these calls. We got Gertrude, pronouns she, her, from Colorado. She's an atheist, and she says, well, this is just what the call screen says, autism as an evolutionary adaptation. Gertrude, welcome to SkepTalk. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. This is Erika and Aron.
That's us.
Aron.
Thank you. Perfect. She rolled the R and everything.
Thank you. I recall the anecdote that you gave about your trip to Scandinavia and how they pronounced it correctly, and I kind of took that to heart after years and years of hearing you called Aron. So
thank you. So
of course the crux of my question, and forgive my ignorance, like I am an autistic person, and I am at best a layperson. What I'm trying to understand is, I don't know how much credence there is to like evolutionary psychology, how much research there is in this, but I recall hearing a few years ago about some EvoPsych work that had been done regarding ADHD as a like evolutionary adaptation. The whole idea behind it being that like people with different sleep disorders or different attention patterns might serve an evolutionary advantage as like night watch people or serve as better hunters. And I'm curious as to whether there's any credence to that idea, or B, whether or not y'all have any insight as to whether autism could also have served some evolutionary advantage.
I have some thoughts on this. Aron, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I'm not even serious at the moment. I'm going to say something silly.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Aron's loosey-goosey from the last call. He's mellowed out, you know? Yeah, Gertrude, this is a really interesting question. The way that I'm going to come at this is from my area, which is bioanth, so paleontology, specifically with relation to human ancestors. There was a really interesting paper that came out 2 years ago in 2024 on Neanderthals. You're probably familiar with Neanderthals. Most people are, and it's pretty common knowledge, I think, at this point that we interbred with Neanderthals, right? Like we could interbreed with them, they could interbreed with us, and we could at least in some cases produce viable offspring. And because of that, we hold some of their DNA in us today, especially if you're from like Eurasian populations. So this paper in 2024 linked the presence of specific Neanderthal variants, if memory serves, to autism, right? So the idea was that if you had these Neanderthal genes, you were more likely to develop autism, was the idea. Now, I am not sure where we're at with that because I'm not a paleogeneticist, right? Like that's not my area. But if I remember correctly, there was sort of a conversation being had at that time as to whether or not what we were looking at was the presence of autism in Neanderthals, or whether or not it was sort of just their natural state of being and that their presence in us sort of instigates or induces autism. Right. And if that's the case, that would mean, and this has been argued before sort of roundaboutly, that Neanderthals are sort of like, that's just their default state of being, like population wide, like species wide. And it does track a little bit because one of the ways that Neanderthals are characterized, and you'll have to read like the work of like Rebecca Rex Sykes, people who study a lot of Neanderthals to get most up to date on this. But Neanderthals are generally characterized as being really, really good at what they did. Right. So they were known for being less innovative, but they were very hyper-focused on the types of technologies that they used, the types of tools that they used, and the types of niches that they inhabited. And it made them just incredible in those roles. The problem came when the climate in part changed at the end of the Pleistocene, and also humans moved into a lot of these areas. And, humans and Neanderthals were sort of in competition with one another. And while Neanderthals were really good at the thing that they did, if the climate and the environment changes, then all of a sudden they need to really learn on the fly. And the argument goes is that they weren't as good at doing that as humans were. So then the idea becomes who's more successful as a species, right? I think there's an argument to be made that Neanderthals existed for longer than we did, right? Neanderthals split from our common ancestor like roughly 400,000 years ago. And if that's the case, then the way that they were was perfectly evolutionarily advantageous for what they were doing and where they were doing it. That makes sense. That's what we expect to see. That's how evolution works, right? It's only when they came in contact with humans and were faced with dramatic climatic change potentially that became a disadvantage. And then those characteristics live on in us through genetic variants that are linked to autism. I don't know. That's some hypothesis, right, of the relationship between these things that I have read. I don't know where we stand on that. I think that makes sense, right, with what we see Neanderthals doing, like what we read from their culture and from their success as a species. But I don't know if that's held true. And I don't know either if when that genetic variant was present in Neanderthals, it caused something similar in them, or if that did, in fact, generally characterize the species. So that's my 2 cents. I think autism can be, some people are arguing that it was specifically evolutionarily advantageous in specific ways, either within humans or within Neanderthals as a whole, and other people aren't, but I'm not sure. I'm not up to date on the literature enough to know where that line is drawn.
Okay.
And for me,
yeah, I think that all makes sense.
I got a cautionary lesson from Tim Minchin, who said that evolutionary theory says bosoms are buttock-like protrusions designed to tempt men in situations when they can't get a glimpse of your bum. I find such hypotheses dumb. It's like the one that says lipstick is for making your lips look more like the lips of a happy vagina. Since they said that, I can't look my great aunt in the eye. So, evolutionary psychology. I can't always take it seriously.
Yeah, I figured it like I don't buy into the whole like hard science versus soft science thing. So I was curious as to whether Evo Psych is one of those things that's like, because there's that weird ambiguity in the general population about like hard sciences versus soft sciences, I've never really gotten a clear idea as to whether EvoPsych is actually a science or whether it's just something that's.
It's so speculative.
I don't really know how to flesh that out.
A lot of it seems to be well justified. A lot of it just seems to make sense. You know, the way that it's presented, you're like, yeah, I could certainly get that. But there's no way to test it.
But is that like anomaly hunting?
Kind of. And it's also like there's some things about EvoPsych that are very straightforward, right? You know, like why are moms so protective of their babies right now and so overprotective? And why are moms overprotective? And it's like, well, because the moms that weren't overprotective, their kids got eaten by, you know, a lion on the African savannah. It's like, in the sense that EvoPsych is broadly applied, sure. The problem comes when you get to some of these hypotheses that are like, well, concealed ovulation evolved in women to cuckold men. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, and how do we, as artists, how do we test that, right? Like, we can use the comparative method and we can look at other species and say, okay, like, do we see a lot of cheating behavior in pair bonded species with concealed ovulation? And it's like about the same rate as in people. So where can we go with that? You know what I mean? It becomes a tough sell. I think with this particular concept, this idea of autism and an evolutionary benefit, I think you could maybe test it some, but I think it would be really hard to isolate it as like the singular, like there being a singular reason for its presence. I'd keep an eye on this Neanderthal stuff though. I think that there's going to be some interesting models that come out of that. I don't know where we'll end up.
Okay. Just two quick things. First, I wanted to apologize. I did not mean to interrupt you, Aron. I had a thought pop into my head, and I voiced it before I processed that you were still talking, and I'm sorry about that.
Quite all right. I was just making a stupid joke. It's fine.
Still, I want to try and maintain that sense of like polite conversational flow, and I struggle with that sometimes.
You're doing great.
The follow-up that I had to that was there was something that you mentioned, Erika, that I wanted to pick up on because I am still deconstructing a lot of bullshit from the Aryan apostolic shit that I was raised in. And so I kind of flinched at the mention of Neanderthal DNA primarily. Like it sounded like you mentioned that it primarily shows up in people with Eurasian ancestry. And I wanted to ask about how do we research things like that without feeding into like race realist bullshit about like because I'm aware that autism.
If I may,
of course,
Neanderthals were not just in Europe. They've got sites in Asia and the Levant and all of that for a long time. Now, other human groups, when they moved out of Africa, they end up in Neanderthal territory. Whether they were destined to Europe or whether their ancestors eventually settled in Eastern Asia, whatever, most of these people traverse through Neanderthal lands, and some admixture did occur in very isolated groups. And this is why we have 2 to 4% of Neanderthal DNA that shows up in modern Europeans, but also in Asians. Now, sub-Saharan Africans, none. Because if they didn't migrate out into Neanderthal territory, then there was never that level of admixture. You have some, I think, in Egypt and maybe Sudan. I think there was some traces of admixture there, but that's people just meandering back and forth.
I think I'll add a little bit to this and say, because I get where you're coming from, right? Because there are people right now using hominin interbreeding in various places of the world as a means to sort of try and revitalize the multi-regional hypothesis, which for those who don't know, the multi-regional hypothesis was this idea that was proposed in the 20th century that the different human racial groups evolved independently from different hominins, right? So that we're not all the same species, but we descend, we share a common ancestor.
I remember a call y'all had recently where some guy was screaming at you and I think Forrest about papers regarding like footprints and saying Africans weren't humans, and that's along the line that I'm trying to make sure that I'm not feeding into, because I understand that like I know Black autistic people, and if autism is like a Neanderthal trait or like a holdover from Neanderthal interbreeding, I want to make sure that like if this is an area of research that I go into, that it's not that what I'm researching isn't promulgating these like race realists this race realist pseudoscience.
So first, it's just a hypothesis for right now, right? That like the 2024 paper found an association between Neanderthal genes and the presence of autism. That doesn't mean that that's the only way somebody can have autism, right? Is if they have a Neanderthal gene with them, right? Like it's more complicated than that. So I'd say you're probably safe on that front. But virtually every people group has some kind of admixture with some kind of ancient hominin, and that's just the way that our species has always been. We move into an area, we interbreed with things, and we interbreed with each other. And we live in such a globalized society at this point that I think it scarcely matters which hominins were interbreeding with which populations, right? We know there was one in sub-Saharan Africa, there was Denisovans in Southeast Asia, and there was Neanderthals in Eurasia. That's all really cool and fine and dandy. The race realists are still up a creek because these admixture events don't map on to any modern concept of race. And in fact, race as a modern concept isn't even consistent across space and time now. You know what I mean? Like what we conceive of as specific racial groups right now is different from what we conceived as specific racial groups in the 50s or in the 1850s or in the 1750s or in, Norway at all of those time intervals, or the Congo at all of those time intervals, or in Australia at all of those time intervals, because concepts of racial groups have always been subject to flux. So I think it's important to keep in mind that all of that is couched within this extremely low genetic diversity for humans, this really high levels of homozygosity across non-African populations, because we all nest within the African group because that's where Homo sapiens originated. And I think if you keep that in mind, you're certainly going to be fine. There's nothing intrinsically loaded, I think, about this. It's just race realists try to make it so.
Yeah, well, it seems like race realists seem to think that it's intrinsically loaded, that we try to argue against phrenology. So yeah, I understand that like there's inherent bad faith with race realist arguments. Right. So we're on the same page there, and I'm unsettlingly familiar with those arguments because those are the sorts of people that raised me, and it is a long and laborious journey to unlearn all of that shit.
Well, and just, keep a finger on the pulse on this kind of thing. This is like an area rife for discovery right now, like hominin interbreeding, like when major populations entered into certain places and when they left, right? Like this is an area that's exciting in paleogenomics, I guess, what you would call it. And its relationship to modern conditions is obviously also very complicated and subject to flux. So I'm glad you're thinking about researching it, because God knows we need more people looking into it, just for the very sake of just understanding our own condition.
Yeah. Sorry. I picked up on a particular quirk of language, and you said our own condition. Is that to say that you are autistic, or is that am I just misreading that language?
I mean, I was referring to our as in humans because we're all human. Presumably you're human. I'm assuming you're also human. So I was meaning it like our as in humans, but I mean, I don't know. I've never been diagnosed. I've never been really
I've been
checked out
accused of
for
it a
it.
bunch of times.
I have no idea if I am or am not.
Yeah, I've been accused of it a bunch of times, and honestly, it would explain some things.
I think
It definitely explained a lot for me. I will. I think if I have like one last question about this,
Yeah, shoot.
because Erika, you did mention that it's an area of research that could use more work. How do I, if that was something that we were interested in, like researching further? I am painfully familiar the uh, with the subsection of the population that wants to learn the genetic learn about the genetic predispositions for autism for eugenics reasons, and how would we go about, like, how do we research something like that without potentially giving ammunition to the sorts of people who would want to do away with autistic people? Like, how do we like how do we like go about the ethics, or how do
Yeah.
we navigate the ethics of like learning this for the sake of learning and it being like that research being supported by people who want that information for
For sure. For sure.
in
I'm totally hearing what
insidious
you're saying.
reasons.
No, I mean, and that's genuinely a fraught area. I'm going to give you the best answer I can. First, I think it has to be framed as investigating human diversity. That's all this is. It's not investigating, human pathology and, conditions that we're seeking to fix and weed out or something like that. Autism is a part of the human.
Unless you're RFK.
Yeah, unless you're, yeah, literally, right. Well, just stay away from the Tylenol, I guess. He already has it figured out. The problem that he's created, he solved. Isn't that funny how that works? Yeah, we need to understand how this is framed in actuality, which is that we're trying to understand human diversity. And autistic people are human, so they're a part of human diversity, and we want to understand all of what we are and how we come to be, from our different skin colors to our sexual and gender expression to localized adaptation to personality characteristics and predispositions. Like, all of that kind of stuff is us learning about ourselves. And I think that by framing it as researching human diversity, you can route a lot off at the pass. However, there's always going to be people who are going to try to use any research of anything as a way to demonize the group of people that they don't like. That goes for women's studies, that goes for studies of LGBTQ, that goes for studies of different racial groups. People have been weaponizing science since science was a thing. And so the important thing to do, to try to route them off at the pass, is to be transparent about the work that we're doing and to communicate it to as many people as possible, as transparently as possible, so people know what it is that we're doing, know the truth of it from the people who are doing the work, so that these assholes can't warp it. Because that's what they're going to do. I mean, we saw something very similar to this kind of recently. There was a series of genetic sequencing papers that came out of sub-Saharan Western African groups, and there was some admixture in some of these populations with some hominin that we haven't identified yet, a ghost lineage, probably something similar to Neanderthals or Denisovans. But race realists use that as a way to say that sub-Saharan Western African groups have like Australopithecus DNA or something like that, because these people are freaks and they're looking for any reason to take a group that they don't like down a peg, even though there's zero support for that, and that this DNA is not dissimilar to the type of DNA that we see from Neanderthals or Denisovans, which means it's perfectly typical for a human group. but they're gonna try to weaponize it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't research it. That means that, in my opinion, the researchers have to take the bull by the horns on that and be abundantly clear right off the bat as to what they found and what the implications are before people can take it and twist it into something that it's not. And I think that the same needs to be true for any area of research into the human condition.
To my knowledge, we have Denisovan DNA, we have Neanderthal DNA. We don't have Homo erectus DNA. We damn sure don't have Australopithecus DNA.
No, we don't.
So how could you even say?
They do it because it's an admixture of something that isn't clearly Denisovans and isn't clearly Neanderthals, and so they use that to say it must be something primitive and less good than us, instead of, another one of these hominins that's walking around at the same time and is like a perfectly typical late Pleistocene big brain hominin. Because these people kind of suck. That's why they do it. Like, does that make sense, Gertrude?
I made a video exploring this claim that they'd found Homo erectus DNA in teeth, and I realized that what they were talking about was something completely different. They weren't talking about the genome. The article certainly made it sound that way.
Yeah.
But when you explore what they was actually saying is, no, it's not. We don't have this DNA. The oldest DNA we have is over here, nowhere near close enough. So it's embarrassing when a science magazine says something that stupid.
This is what I'm saying. And like, Gertrude, this is my advice to you as somebody who's maybe going to be dipping their toes in this, is if you go on to study this, when you're speaking to like science communication outlets, just seize that agency and make sure that what it is that they're putting out there is actually reflective of the work that you've done. Because we're in an epidemic right now of misinformation. And I think that it's not just misinformation, it's the fact that misinformation is usually more bombastic, and thus it gets more clicks, and thus there's an incentive for these magazines to choose the most bombastic title possible. If I had $1 for every time everything we know about human evolution has been rewritten, I would be a very, very wealthy ape, right? Like because it happens every week. Every week I've been alive, I would be making at least $1 from this.
Well, every week there's a science magazine that says new evidence causes scientists to rethink their theories, even when all it did was confirm the status quo.
Or just refine our perspective, right? Like, we find new stuff out all the time. I say this all the time, Aron, and I've sort of cribbed this from, my betters in my field, but it's like the only time the entire history of human evolution, everything we thought we knew about human evolution has been overturned, is when we discovered the Tong child in 1925. That's the only time that everything we thought we knew was flipped on its head, because it placed the origin of humans in Africa. That's it. That's the only time that's ever happened, and
even then,
Darwin
said, that's not everything, right? Darwin said it would be in Africa. I mean,
True.
You predict it. It's been fulfilled.
Anyways, Gertrude, does that help at least a little bit? I know that. Sorry, it's a little roundabout, all that stuff.
No, you're not. The way y'all are speaking isn't much different from the way that my brain processes things in a very roundabout and sometimes circular way. But I get it. I definitely understand what you're saying.
Good stuff. Okay, my friend, we have some other calls we got to get to, but please don't hesitate to call back or shoot me an email.
Thank you so much, and thank y'all for all of the science education that y'all do. Y'all have been an inspiration for me for Aron for like 15 years now, and Erika over the last 5 years. And again, thank y'all for all of the amazing educational work that y'all do. It's really important.
Thank you,
of
and you're
course,
welcome.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you. All right.
Shoot, I do that every time. Gertrude, I'm sorry. I click the drop button and then there's a delay and then people say more stuff. So thank you for your call. I've got a real treat for you, Aron. I don't know if you've got Call In Studio pulled up. If you don't,
I'm kind of wincing.
Yeah, you already know what I'm going to pick, right?
Yeah.
We've got a really interesting call. We got Dave, pronouns he, him, from the UK. He's a theist caller. He's calling in to tell us that Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ with obvious proof.
And this person lives under a bridge and charges tolls.
Dave, can you hear us? Dave? Dave from the UK. I'm hearing something, but it's not coming through very much.
Let's all hold hands and concentrate until the message becomes clear.
Dave. I don't know what's going on here.
Dave from the UK is in the loo.
Or we've got like we're about to get bombed with like copyrighted music or something. I'm not really sure. Lux, advice?
Yeah, we can just move on. It's fine.
Okay.
Move on. All right.
He there's no way he was serious anyway.
I was prepared for them to be
troll,
another
right?
like N-word bomb because we got a couple of those this weekend. So I was hovering over the mute button ready for it.
When I started hearing the music, I was like, oh, it's gonna be copyrighted music and it's supposed to demonetize the stream or something, but I was kind of looking forward to it. I thought that would have been kind of a funny call.
Wasn't loud enough to get us caught. Haha, motherfucker.
Oh, what a loser. What a loser. Okay, that's fine. We'll skip to our next call. We have K, pronouns he, him, or she, her, from the Middle East. He's a deist, and he says gender as an evolutionary strategy, question mark? K, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful.
First of all, I just want to
Welcome.
say I'm a very big fan, Erika. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you, and
I'm
thank you for the
enjoying
kind words.
April very much.
Good. I'm glad someone's enjoying. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your question here.
Well, I called in a few lives ago and actually discussed this with Forrest, and I'm wondering if gender could be seen as a maladapted evolutionary strategy.
Okay,
Right.
elaborate on that.
I'm keen to hear your hypothesis.
Well, you guys are much more educated than me. Educated than me on this. I don't have any more than some basic college biology classes on evolution and your videos as education on the topic. But to me, it seems like it seems like evolutionarily, gender came about as a strategy to split up labor between early humans for some evolutionary for some evolutionary benefit. So it seems like it might have at one point. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Please, I want to hear your full thoughts.
No. Yeah, that at some point it might have been useful in the early days of humanity when we were out in the wilderness hunting for our food, but it kind of doesn't seem to hold that much relevance in the modern day. It's splitting up people based on these phenotypic differences. And just to be clear, I'm making a distinction between gender and sex. I understand they are not the same thing. I'm not.
So I jump in first, I guess. It's a hard thing to say because we see gendered behavior in non-human primates, and sometimes it matches along sex lines and sometimes it doesn't. There's a book that you would probably really like called Different by Franz de Waal. He's a primatologist, and the subscript of the book or whatever is gender and sexuality through the eyes of a primatologist. And he sort of
with
talks
lions.
Do what?
How about with lions, because you've got gender roles like within a pride of lions, but then I think some of the most overt some of the most overt signs of homosexuality also were recorded in African pride lions.
Yeah, I think the question is more surrounding like do non-human animals have gender as something that's separate from sex? And if they do, like, do they police it the way that we do? And I think that's a hard question to answer because from what I can tell, at least from anecdotal accounts from primatologists, they don't really do a lot of policing of it. They kind of just do what they want a lot of the time. And if they're successful in doing whatever behavior it is that they're doing, I mean, that behavior persists. So like, for example, one that I bring up a lot is that there is currently, the last time I checked at least, a female Japanese macaque who is helming the role of alpha male of the troop. She's not the alpha female. She is in the role of the alpha male in the linear dominance hierarchy, which is quite unusual for monkeys like this because they're very sexually dimorphic. So, what's going on there? Well, it's hard to say because we can't really ask them what's going on in their heads when they're engaging in behavior that is sort of different from what is expected given their sex, right? So I don't know the answer as to whether or not they have gender or not. I don't even know how we would get at that. So then that gets to the second question, which is like, well, what's going on in humans? I think you have to parse gender from gender roles or gendered behavior. We know that in Neanderthals, there doesn't seem to be very much of a partition of labor there because males and females exhibit the same pathologies. And what that tends to suggest to us is that they were engaging in similar behaviors and similar risky behaviors. This probably has something to do with the fact that Neanderthals lived in really small groups. And so they couldn't really afford to do gendered behavior. It was like, we need to hunt a mammoth, all hands on deck, regardless of who you are. Everybody's helping out. And so everybody's getting hurt. So then we can look to humans and say, okay, well, are human hunter-gatherer societies necessarily always gendered? Do they have these gender roles? And it's like, okay, well, in some sense they do, because there are behaviors that typically fall in line with gender identity, right? In extant hunter-gatherer societies, at least. But also they violate them too. So I don't really know if you could call it a maladaptive adaptation or not. It's tough to say. That's a good question.
It's by France de Waal, right? I think I looked up the right book, Different What Age Can Teach Us About Gender. I'm definitely going to pick this up. It seems like an amazing read.
It's a great book. He talks a lot about answering that question that I just stated, right? Like, do non-human primates have gender? Or do they have concepts of gender roles? And do they police it? And the answers are really surprising because at least it seems like the answer is yes, yes, no. But I don't know. It probably depends on the population in question. I have a primatologist friend who she's an incredible field worker. She's done work with vervet monkeys, with gorillas, and with bonobos, which the number of people who have done work with bonobos, you can't even see them, right? Like they're that deep in the Congo. She had some incredibly interesting anecdotes of monkeys or apes, I should say vervet monkeys or the bonobos or the gorillas, just being individuals, right? So, they might not be behaving in ways that are typical for their sex. And so, like, what do you call that? I don't know. I don't know. Like, are they just violating a gender rule? Are they behaving in a way that is like consistently not identifying with their sex at birth? Well, what do we do with that? How do we even understand their concept of gender when we seemingly can hardly appreciate our own concept of gender? So it's a good question.
Yeah, I will definitely have to do some more reading on this. Because personally, I'm a gender abolitionist. I think from the question, it's clear that I don't believe gender is really useful in the modern day, at least in the way we conceptualize it.
Mm. I can appreciate that. I mean, like I find it.
No,
sorry,
please,
continue.
No. I was just going to say the strict binary. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think like when I think about the way that I live my life and like the way that gender impacts my life, I don't know. I guess I've never really given it a lot of thought. I mean, I enjoy identifying as a woman. I enjoy that. But at the same time, I don't think it would be like the end of the world if there was no such thing as gender for me. Like, I don't think it would fundamentally change the way I live my life. So I don't know. I guess I need to think on it more.
That's great. Aaron, if you had any thoughts, I'd like to hear if you had anything.
Well, I think in situations where there's no genetic tests and things like that, I can see where there would be gender roles when you're not sure if the children are yours or whatever. Maybe there's some kind of thing going on at that level. But as you said, in the modern day, isn't it just easier just to assume that everybody's bisexual and just let them fucking be? let you know if you can do the job, we will consider hiring you, regardless.
100% agree.
Cool. Thank you so much, Kay. We got a couple other calls we got to get to, but feel free to call back in. I'll have to mull over gender as a maladaptive character, at least in present day humans. That's a good one.
We're very glad to have the call. Have a great night or morning,
Take care.
or whatever time zone you're in.
All right. Moving on down the list, we have Matthew, pronouns he, him, from Kentucky. They're an atheist caller, and he says, I just wanted to discuss the concept of overshoot and Earth's carrying capacity. Recently published paper says human carrying capacity is 2.5 billion. God, I hope not, or we are in some serious trouble. Matthew, can you hear us? Welcome to SkepTalk with Aron and Erika.
I sure can.
Cool. Tell us a little bit more about this very alarming paper.
And this book wasn't it wasn't published like a century ago, was it?
No, it was actually March 27th, 2026. So,
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, here, let me get the title. It's sorry, I should have been more prepared.
Yeah, because
it's called Global Human Population Has, excuse me. Yeah, sorry, it's called Global Human Population Has Surpassed Earth's Sustainable Carrying Capacity. And
yep. I got it pulled up. This is by Bradshaw et al., published in Environmental Research Letters. And they say the same model fitted to the facilitation phrase predicts a maximum population of 2.5 billion people that Earth might be able to maintain. And this is based off of a Riker logistic model fitted to the negative phase. I am not sure about population models, so I am not the person to ask for like whether or not these parameters are correct. I will say, if the carrying capacity on Earth, for those of you who don't know, the carrying capacity is the ability of an environment, in this case, the entire planet, to sustain a species. Like, what's the maximum amount of critters of a given species that an environment can actually maintain? This paper is saying that Earth can handle no more than 2.5 billion humans, which, considering we're at like 8+, is bad. That is not good if this is true. So
and we hit that maximum number a century ago.
Yeah, we've been not doing well for a minute. So tell us, give us your thoughts on this, Matthew. Maybe we can dissect it a little bit.
Yeah, Aron, I've been a fan for a long time, and I just remember at one point in one of your videos you were criticizing these religious nutcases who the Quiverful movement, and who treat the be fruitful and multiply that's the ultimate commandment, and you should focus on nothing else in your life. So it's just I don't know. There are things to criticize, the way this paper defines comfortable is kind of Eurocentric in a way, because for example, those in Costa Rica, their happiness and life expectancy exceeds the United States in certain ways, but their per capita consumption is lower. So I don't think the 2.5 is super set in stone, because if everyone lived like the average Yemeni, then it would be 20 billion, but then it would be like a Soylent Green kind of situation. So it's just I think that this paper is going deep into defining what's comfortable in where you have hospital care and basic necessities of life, and you're not starving. So I don't know. It seems legit. The lead author has an H index of 100, which apparently is really high. So I don't know exactly if you're familiar with him, or or what?
I think that just eyeballing the abstract, I think that what you're getting at here with like, okay, if everybody lives like the average homestead owner in Montana, you're probably going to need like 2.5 Earths to sustain the current population, right? But as you said, if everybody's living like, an individual living in Delhi, then we're fine for a very, very long time. So I think it's not a problem with the paper or the methodology. It's more of a problem with parameters as far as like the headline goes. Like, I don't know that it's fair to say, okay, this paper definitely proves that we are totally screwed. We're fucked, right? Like 2.5 billion, that's it, game over. Start saying your prayers.
Yeah. As you noticed, there's also this huge disparity. I mean, I've seen these comparisons of different cultures around the world where the family sits with the amount of food that they eat in a week. And you look at everybody in the world seems to have this meager amount, just a small amount of food in the middle of the room. And then you see the Americans. And it's like the whole kitchen is full, just for what we eat in a given week. So we are definitely consuming more resources. We are, causing a bigger part of the problem. If everybody lives like us, then it's not going to be. Then the study's right. If you live like us, then we can't have that many people on here. When you have such a huge population, you need to be very efficient in both how you produce energy and how you produce food. And we are not at all. And I equate this to like when you're running or driving really fast. Everything's got to be in perfect balance and perfect order to continue that speed or to reach any further speed. But at some point, something goes out of whack and the entire thing comes crashing down hard. And that's where I fear that we're going with the amount of population that we have, and are we myopic that we can't see what's going to happen? The way that we waste food and the way that we subsidize non-production of food and so on, and the way that we're consuming resources in order to do our food, and the damage that that's doing. I would love to see a global population at the level that the study is calling for. That would be magnificent. Just imagine how clean the environment would be if we had an idea of how to live that way in a modern society. I would like there to be cities. I just don't want them to be wasteful and polluting and poisonous. We have the know-how to make a really good cultural society. We know how to live in a let's say a Star Trek kind of culture. I mean, just where we're clean and efficient, and we still have everything that we're not over polluting everything. I liked when COVID, when people had to stay home for a year, and riverways started cleaning up, and people started seeing dolphins, in the Yangtze again, and that sort of thing. How charming! Can we do that? Not if we keep producing at the rate we are.
Well, I think we don't. I think that people who have a whole lot of money don't want that, right? I mean, take work from home. I mean, there's so many people out there who got the return to work order, return to office order, and it's like there's study after study that shows that doesn't actually increase productivity, but there's so much money, billions and billions of dollars tied up into office space that companies have to justify that, right? So they're like, well, screw it. We'll just force it. Who cares? Who cares if it's billions of hours of people's time in commute every single year? Oh, crud.
And the traffic. I mean, damn. I'm so lucky that I got to work at home. And, that's such a great gig. I so hated 14 years of my life going back and forth to this one office, just like a half hour away. Regardless of whether I've got to do this commute. And so I'm always sitting behind somebody else's taillights, somebody else's headlights on my ass, lurching forward ever so, that's what I have to do for 27 miles every day. But why? I would so much rather just roll out of bed and be sitting there in my jammies taking calls.
Well, and I think that everybody, like, again,
not that I wear
fine.
jammies.
Oh, of course you do, Aron. I'm sure they have like like they say like good night moon in like death metal font,
I do have some Jolly Roger jammies, just little
There
Jolly
you go.
Rogers all over.
There you go. I'm wearing PJ pants right now that have little hot air balloons and little mountains on them. So anyways, Matthew, yeah, I don't know, does that answer your question at least a little bit or give you our perspective?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the work from home thing, I mean, you got to think about the commercial real estate developers. Like, what are they going to do with their investments if they
I know.
aren't filling them with office workers who don't want to be there? Like, come
Literally.
on. Like,
It sucks. We've got this beautiful Amazon rainforest just sitting there, and shareholders could be making so much money off of that rainforest. We should just cut the whole thing down. Think of how much money the shareholders could be making. They could be so much happier on their second, third, fourth, and fifth personal yachts while we languish in squalor.
Have you read the Texas Republican Party platform?
Why, Aron, why would I do that at this point in time? Why would I am guarding my mental health with a flaming sword, right? Like, I cannot read that.
They want to harvest everything in the Gulf, everything, all the natural resources, all the life, everything, all the crabs, all the fish, everything. Fish the hell out of it, crab the hell out of it, drill, baby, drill. Everything. And that's just the Gulf. They want to get everything everywhere. They want to frack. Trump just ended our forestry department.
Yeah, I know.
That's huge.
I mean, while we're at it, right? What was the name of the cetacean? I think it's Wright's whale that lives in the Gulf. Taken off the endangered species list or given a stay of hand for its presence on the endangered species list so that they can drill in the Gulf. I mean, that whale is toast. That species is toast. Taking a step back away from the environmental protections or just even environmental maintenance, science is fucked in the United States. Like people have no idea how bad it is, and these repercussions will be felt for a century, I would even say. For just a little taste, I'm a doctoral student, fifth-year doctoral student, and the grant that I applied for, the NSF grant that I applied for, is the same grant that everybody applied for. It's the DDRIG, the Doctoral Dissertation Research Improvement Grant. And the purpose of this grant is it is the grant that is available for every doctoral student in the entire country to apply for so that they can do their research. Pretty much everybody who has a PhD in any STEM field has applied for this grant and hopefully gotten it. That grant has funded the research of every PhD essentially that's come through since the dawn of its inception for the past 50 plus years. That grant doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. The DDRIG is gone. It is finished. The NSF was cut in half. The NIH was cut in half. There's been one biology grant from the NSF, a single one that has been approved this year. One biology related grant. That includes medicine, at least within the NSF. So I just don't think that that people know how bad it's going to get. And it's, if I may hop on my soapbox for a minute, the reason people don't know about it is because there's been a very successful campaign to poison this country with anti-intellectualism over the past, I'd say 75 years, where expertise is seen as elitism. And universities are breeding grounds for evil leftist ideology, and anybody who knows more than you is a stuffy, jerk in their ivory tower. And Joe Schmo from down the street's opinion is just as good as the person who spent 30 years of their life dedicated to this particular subject.
My ignorance is just as good as your education.
That's it. And it's like, but these people don't operate under that. No one does. You don't take your car to a medical doctor and you don't have a doctor fix your pipes. At least not the ones in your house. You know what I mean? Like, we all recognize expertise is something that's important we all operate under that as a fact, and then no one applies it, and we are suffering for it. And do you know who isn't? Let me just stay on my soapbox like I do all the time for this particular subject. Oh, I broke the internet because I was so angry. I froze and I was so mad. Hold on, what was it? Was it my camera? Okay, there we go. You know who isn't doing this? China. China is shoveling money into their education and science infrastructure, into renewable energy. They are going to kick our can down the road. This is the Chinese century. It is what it is. And we signed our own death warrant on this one. I mean, you would be shocked if you knew how many opportunities scholars in the United States are receiving to leave this country and go elsewhere.
I would venture to say that while there was never a time that we can point to when America was great, right? One of the great things about America was there was a moment when we were the leaders in science. That was it. That was our greatest. That was our pinnacle.
And it lasted for a minute too. Like we had that for quite some time, and scholars from all over the world came here to study, and anybody could come here and receive, an education with people who are leading in their fields. And that time is over because those people are leaving because the money isn't there for them. Long-term study sites are falling through the rotted ceiling of this nation. And people are going to, like, other nations are picking up the pieces. It's gonna suck. Yeah. Someone in the comments said American century of humiliation. Yes, and we did this to ourselves. Anyways, Matthew, I hope that answered your question.
We got money for crypto scams and AI investments. Oh, yay.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for AI to hallucinate my diagnosis in 40 years, assuming I live that long. And then I die on the table. And then they go, oops, luckily it doesn't matter because you don't have health insurance or something.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I lost my Medicaid and now I'm getting therapy from Gemini Pro.
I'm so sorry.
Like Jimmy said, like, I mean, it honestly does halfway decent job, but it's still kind of fucked up. But I kind of want to get back to like the political aspect of this, like with like Elon Musk and JD Vance, like constantly saying like Americans need to have more babies. And it's like,
oh yeah.
If you had to guess how many Earths worth of resources we would need if everyone lived like the average American, how many would you guess?
It's like 2.5, right?
It's 5.1.
5.
Probably more by now. That's 2022 data.
I mean, let me get on my George Orwell hat here for a minute. Like, why do you think the richest people on the planet are hypernatalists? You know what I mean? Because they need somebody to do the shit they don't want to do. They need an underclass. I hate to be so dystopian about it, but
they need an endless supply of wage slaves.
An endless supply of wage slaves, exactly, and bodies to throw at each other for the corpo wars of the 2100s.
This is getting really depressing.
Yeah. So,
anyways, Matthew.
I mean, I think there should be like an action here, though. Like, it's like the way I think about it is like when you go on a labor strike, you're withholding your productive capacity. When you go on a boycott, you're withholding your consumption capacity. And like in South Korea, there was something called a birth strike. I forget what the exact name for it was, but it's like when you intentionally disobey JD Vance and Elon Musk and say, no, I will not force someone into this dying world, you are saying, I will not produce more consumers for you. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's like the thing that the capitalists want the least. They want you to produce those wage slaves so they can profit off of them. So, I mean, you might find meaning in that, but sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Please continue.
Like, I know it's a very personal choice to have kids, but I think we should honor and venerate people who adopt a lot more than I think that's a lot more beneficial to society than
I think at this point it's a bit late. I think it's a bit late to talk about, to assume that people care about the benefits of society anymore. So, Erika, you inspired me. To when America was its best, which unfortunately was when I was a kid.
Hey, I wasn't even alive. Count your blessings. Cheers. Anyways,
Yeah.
Matthew, we do have one more call we got to get to, and I don't want to keep everybody too long. I don't want to keep Aron too long because we got super chats still as well. Please call back another time though, and we can continue this doomer fest.
I mean, I think these are honest conversations we need to have. That like they're hard, but like if we don't talk about them, then the eco-fascists give their eco-fascist solutions to this problem that we're facing. And no, we need to give progressive solutions like women's rights and universal access to birth control and sterilization, and reducing unwanted pregnancies is like the number one thing we need to be doing. I think
you realize you're talking about things that were accomplished when I was a kid, and we're now having to do again because the people in charge now that have been open about this. They want to deprive women of the right to vote.
That's true. At least some of the Christian nationalists that are whispering in the ear of the current Secretary of War.
I have a hard time believing that a culture can go backward so abruptly, so explicitly.
Well, while we got those gains in your youth in this country, like it's never been a global thing. Like there's always been, theocracies and backwards ass areas of the world that we in colonized. Like it's not obviously their fault. Obviously, colonialism plays a huge part in that. But I'm getting kind of off track here. But yeah, my point is like, yeah, we need to go forward. We need to fight for women's rights and universal education and all that. And, keep the genocide at bay if we can. The genocidal fascists.
We'll do our best, Thank you so much, Matthew.
Yeah, and you guys are fighting a good fight. I appreciate it.
Hey, our pleasure, man.
Yeah, you
Take care.
guys have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Too.
All right, we got one more call, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit more uplifting. We got Najee, pronouns he, him, from Mississippi. Is MI Mississippi? Is MI Missouri?
Yeah, what's up? Finally. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's Mississippi. Yes, we can hear you. And
it's
your
supposed to be
question,
Michigan. I messed it up. Sorry.
Michigan. Sorry. Okay, my bad.
Up?
Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, what's up? It's pronounced Najee, but whatever. But
got it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of both of y'all, and I'm talking nervously. But I got a question,
you're doing great.
like about evolution. So,
Yeah,
and
shoot.
yes, I'm an atheist. Sorry, sorry that y'all are getting atheist callers. But
Okay.
holy cow, speaking really fast.
Now you're doing great.
So I was wondering, like, if I can do evolution, not like a typical breeding farm, but like with myself, like mixing my own traits, like breeding with, like, say for, like if I mate with a Russian female, we have different traits, and then we both had kids, and that kid is like different. Does that count as like a form of breeding, which is a form of evolution?
I mean, evolution is roughly defined as a change in the allelic frequency in a population over time. So anytime that critters reproduce and the allelic frequency changes, that's evolution in the broadest sense. So yes.
It could be that you don't have to seek out somebody from the other side of the world.
That's true. Yeah.
Evolution is where one original variety or one original form eventually produces increasingly distinct offspring. And so these changes that happen, that like one becomes two becomes 4, and then 8 and 16 and so on. and they are increasingly distinct, so that you could eventually realize, okay, well, these moved on to Georgia, these moved on to Afghanistan, these moved on to somewhere else. And then it really isn't that much time to go by before, if you find a wanderer from one of these groups that are not in their ancestral place, you could tell just by looking at them which place they came from. So, like a good example, the southern giraffe, the northern giraffe, they start from the same common ancestor, but eventually they produce diversity. And as I mentioned before, evolution is the only explanation of biodiversity.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Yeah, that's all. I wanted to, I was trying to see if I can use this as like an argument, like, to this evolution denier.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you need to figure into the mix here is you wanted to go with somebody, breeding yourself with somebody on the other side of the world, but it could be with somebody in your own community, looks just like you. But there are random mutations that happen. And so not just in your initial progeny, but in generations down, there you can have it in your granddaughter, for example, on this side, but not any of the others may have this one distinction, and these will increase over time.
Awesome. Crap. Before I go, I got a question about your phylogeny Explorer process, that site that you made. So I tried to go to it, but it crashed out on me.
It's crashed several times. It's been a point of huge frustration for me, because they put, I think, £250,000 into this project so far, and we're on database number 7, because the amount of there's so much volume in this. We created the largest cladogram with respect to fossil species. There are things like EOS that have like the largest number of extant species, but there's no fossils in there. And so we had to go through multiple peer-reviewed fossil sites and gather all the information, and we have to put the notations on where everything goes and all of that to build this massive cladogram. We had at one point a couple dozen volunteers just spending all their spare time working on this, and this was going on for a couple of years like that. And we created a very big, literally the biggest ever website on this. But when it keeps going down, because it's so big that there's not a database structure that can keep it up. We're trying to build another one, and there have been delays of all kinds. The engineer at one point was Ukrainian, and then Russia attacked, and that held us up for like 2 years. And we are planning a new production team meeting upcoming. I think this month, because we're trying to figure out what the hell can we do. There's so much money that was invested into this, and that's one of the things it needs. You need a project manager. There needs to be some money just to keep it going. We have secured servers that were donated. I'm not sure where they are. I think they were in Ukraine as well, and may not exist anymore. You can still get to the database, but it's not public like it used to be. And I want it to be a peer-reviewed resource that is interconnected with like Wikipedia and other things like that, because it's frustrating using Wikipedia's cladograms because they don't match each other. There's so many contradictions everywhere, and that problem comes up a lot.
Yeah, don't worry. I got I've written all the clades that you explain in your classification of life series. I already written it down on my computer, just in case of that doesn't if I don't get to them.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to people in the team at some point in the next. Yeah, we're already halfway into April, aren't we? So it'll be sometime in the next couple of weeks, I expect. And I want it to be back because it was up for like 3 years that people could access it and add to it if they wanted to. They could sign in as a user, then their changes could be approved or what have you. because it was a team of them, because the whole purpose of it was that it be peer reviewed. It needed to have educational value.
Yeah. And like I'm using this like to like teach that he's a streamer. He likes anime and he keeps on like I guess like well doubting evolution, and I keep like trying to explain it to him. So I'm using these clays to like not argue. Like I'm not trying to debate him. I'm trying to like educate him a bit like about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Yep.
Erika.
Thank you, Aron and Erika. Big fan of y'all.
Thank you very much.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm hopping back into the call, so my Zoom always kind of shits the bed when I first joined back in. Yeah, I vanished for a minute there because my computer just like died. I don't know what the deal was.
I paid for.
Oh yeah, sorry, I got you.
You're welcome to. Yes, I pay for a professional service, and I've lost connection twice today. So I mean, this should not happen.
I wish I could say mine was a connection thing. My computer just totally died. Like I don't know what it white screened or blue screened or whatever on me and just kicked me from my whole thing. I don't know. I don't know what the death never
fans getting dusty in there.
How do you mean?
I've noticed that Erika and I both.
Jesus Christ.
we both got knocked off the show twice, and I'm wondering if there's a common thing there.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know. I'm always problematic on this show. I don't know. I do my best. I do what I can. Kind of. Shall we super chat? I'm so excited.
By all means.
We have $5 from Doomebi to Erika. Will you talk about the Hadar Formation fauna to show challenges that Autism had to deal with? This IMO can show how we overcame. Not just Hadar, but really every time that hominins have lived until the very recent past, we have dealt with some pretty impressive, pretty ferocious megafauna, carnivores, omnivores, and herbivores alike. So I would love to do that. But in the meantime, there are some other cool channels out there that are like The Monsters We Knew and stuff like that that cover similar topics that you might enjoy. Thank you.
$5, excuse me, $5 Australian from Duskframe 7331. Love to see my favorite monkey and my favorite Egyptian god together on the line.
It has been a minute.
Yeah. Too long.
Too long. Yeah, we got to do like a show.
You did.
Show.
Oh, I got to vent for a moment.
What'd I do?
I do. I got to vent. You and Forrest and Seth did a tour. And I felt like I'm just a spectator.
Hey,
I
man.
see this on the, you guys are on tour. And I'm like, I didn't even know about this. I felt so left out.
Man, the way that I work with this kind of stuff, and I've said this to Forrest, and I've said this to Seth, and I've said this on this show, and I've said it on others. The way that I operate is I get calls and emails from people, and they're like, do you want to come do a show? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And when do you want me to be there? And they're like, at this time, at this place, and then I show up. And that is the extent of how I engage with these kinds of things. I'm a horrible promoter. I'm a horrible person when it comes to like remembering what we're doing and like bringing stuff. Bad all around. So here's what I've said all of that to say, Aron, take it up with Seth and Forrest. I don't know what's going on at any given time with my own life, let alone with these kinds of bigger things.
I'm simply wounded that I wasn't
I'm booting you to them, man. I'm innocent. They'll love that too. We got £5 from Mystic Mind Analysis. Maybe the real cryptids are the non-binary friends we made along the way. The more horny amongst us do tend to branch out. And hashtag envy, chaos, hashtag, oh, I get it, it's a pun because there were branching antlers. Isn't that so wonderful? From my favorite brony that I want to smother in a lake with a wet pillowcase. Killing you instantly.
$5 from how do all these words start? Joshua Everett 9887, Steve Poopensmith, fields the Globetrotters goalie. Thanks for that.
You can pocket that one for later.
Poopensmith.
We got $10, 10 Canadian dollars from Where's Waldo. Fuck all the way off with your attempt to validate racism, Brainwood. Yeah, it wasn't, the opener did not lend us any confidence for how that call was going to go, but it did go worse than I thought it would. So
when he said, "I'm not a racist," was that your first clue that this guy's definitely racist?
It was, and it only went downhill when he unironically 1350'd us. And I was like, okay, I see. This is that kind of call. Great. Awesome.
Haven't earnestly heard 1350 in a while.
I thought the same thing, Lux. I was like, wow, what a blast from the past. And what a horrible past it was.
$4.99 from Lena Langton. Rainwood just doesn't want to admit that he sucks at life. His lack of success isn't because he's white, it's because he sucks.
Yeah, I don't love the strategy that some of these race realists use, where they're like, no, it's not bad that I'm saying the races are the equivalent of dog breeds or subspecies, because I'm saying that this other race is actually better than mine, the white race, in all of these things that don't matter to me. And then things that matter to me, we're actually number one. And it's like, okay, well, you haven't quite won me over.
I was interviewed by a black white supremacist.
Oh, wow. Was it Jesse Lee Peterson?
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. Was it really?
It was.
That's crazy. That's amazing. That's what he said. He
currently holds the record as the stupidest person I've ever talked to on a camera.
I've seen some clips from Jesse Lee Peterson. That guy is all kinds of bonkers. I have seen some. He also, by the way, hates women. He hates women so much. He does not like women at all.
He asked me, who do I hate more, my mother or my wife?
There you go. That tracks. That tracks. The quote that I heard from him is that evil comes up from hell through the woman, and likewise, good comes down from above through the man. And I was like, brother, you need to see someone about some of this, because this is a lot.
Is that because women are shorter on average? Like, what is the logic there?
I think the cut is very deep. I think that he had an unhappy marriage, and also his mother was mean to him. That's got to be the baseline of this. But it's sort of like, I don't know. It's a rich tapestry, I gotta say.
All right, I need you to take read this next one.
We got $9.99 from Balthazar 228. What's today's April punishment? Well, thank you for asking, Balthazar. Today on April, I talked about this cranium skull that I have in here it's like a really bad recreation that my wonderful, lovely mother got for me. She means really well. She gets me stuff that I do love, but very little of it is actually scientifically accurate. And I get why, she's not like doing the research on this, because why would you expect that, the random company with 6 letters from Amazon is going to give you like a non-quality product? But anyways, that's what it was today. No puns in April today, outside of just the fact that it is April. But, I do wear that albatross around my neck. It sort of sears a hole into my sternum painfully. I hate it. I hate that that's what it's called. But monkey Twitter is, as I've always said, a very powerful force. I don't make the rules. $5 from Paul 691. You're running out of rope, racist clown. Yeah, rip, bozo.
And then $10. Excuse me, getting a little the change in seasons. $10 from Regato. I know I said that wrong. Regato? I don't know. Hi, Erika. I just found out today that koalas are not real bears. Because they don't have the right qualifications.
You know how I knew that this was going to be a pun? Is because I was like, Regato is not that dumb. Regato knows koalas aren't bears. And when I read that part, I was like, that's surprising. I feel like Regato would know that they're marsupials. And then I was like, I see, it's Regato. which means this is going to be a super chat that viscerally harms me and shaves months off my life because of how horrible the puns are. It's not hashtag good pun, by the way, but I do love seeing your cat, as always. $9.99 from Darth Willow. I have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, and so on. Clearly well before 33 generations, my ancestors exceed the population of Earth. We are all very closely related, if not results of incest. Many, many founder effects have made that significantly worse than even we appreciate, too.
Then $5 Australian from Duskframe 73031. I love Permian synapsids. What is your favorite Permian synapsid? Oh.
I'm making sure that mine's a synapsid and not just a early reptile-like mammal.
I may be confusing the name. I might talk about Theracophalians. There is one, and I think I am confusing the names, but there's one that was believed to be venomous. So it's close to the Gorgonopsids, smaller, but at one point believed to be venomous. And they rendered it in the movie Primeval, or the TV show Primeval, horribly. But it was kind of endearing the way that they turned this animal into such a monster.
Venomous synapsid. Let's see what it is. Hold on. Jeez Louise, synapsid. Usually I'm better at this. Is it Euchimbersia?
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's what came up. Mine's Cotylarhynchus, in case you guys are curious.
Tell us about that one.
It's got a really little head. It's that one with the huge body and the tiny little pinhead. I love that guy.
Which was hunted, coincidentally, by one of the early pelycosaurs, which was the other way around, had a massive...
Yeah, Eriops.
Yeah.
Eriops. And I imagine Cotylarhynchus and Eriops as sort of like a Blues Brothers buddy comedy, and like a Pixar movie. They're missing out on this. This stuff writes itself. And they go around and they're solving like mysteries in the Permian, big head, little body, little head, big body. It's perfect.
This one's yours, I think.
We have $10. Oh, I'm already dreading it. From the Raven 200. Power in my apartment building went out for 10 minutes, but now it's back. Priest Cthulhu. Oh, okay. That wasn't... No, here it is. Okay, what do you call it when Yog-Sothoth has a meeting with himself in Infinity Summit? The only reason this is better than normal is because I do really like the Lovecraft mythos. I do like that. And this is creative. This isn't low-hanging fruit. So credit where credit is due, Raven. A painless death is granted.
Yeah. Yeah, people tell me all the time about how H.P. Lovecraft was not a great guy. I mean, it was 100 years ago. A lot of shit was different 100 years ago, but he was still a pioneer in the horror genre that people emulate to this day.
To be fair, Aron, I say this as a Lovecraft fan. He was pretty bad for his time too. He was like, you've got Darwin, who's like just wonderful for his time, and then you've got Lovecraft, which is the polar opposite, where it's like some of the people Lovecraft were around were like, buddy, that's kind of intense. But then his cosmic horror is really good. Death of the author, I suppose.
Then 1086, there's an interesting number. Corey Springer. My mom was a Trump supporter, but during his first term, I challenged her to learn as much about the Bible, the Bible's Antichrist as she could, and compare to Donald. Since then, she's been anti-Trump as me.
My parents have also both sort of pulled away from support. My mom was always kind of on the anti side of things, but still enlightened centrist, and she is not a fan at all now, which is really nice.
So your parents were MAGA?
They weren't MAGA, but they were Republican. You know what I mean? They were sort of like, oh, if we have to, it's better than Kamala, even though it wasn't ever at any point anywhere even close to that. And we had many of these conversations. My dad can't vote because he's Canadian, but my mom I don't know who she voted for, but because she won't reveal, but I have a feeling that she didn't. I don't think she voted for Trump. I think she probably voted third party, which isn't better. I mean, it's better for my heart, but functionally it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
$5 from the Pew Breaker. Aron, with your new anthropology degree, when are you and Erika going to collab on an original video? We ought to do it. We ought to get something on the books because it has been a while.
Yes, and you've worked with me on a couple of my projects that I've been very thankful that you could, rebutting Genesis apologetics.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So let me know if there's anything that I can help with, and I'd be happy to.
Absolutely.
$5 Australian from Duskframe 7331. Hey, Erika, I'm doing a research paper on the anatomy of millipedes. I haven't made much progress yet, but it's definitely got legs.
This is so irritating to me because most arthropods have legs. Like, you pick millipedes because they have a lot, but like this would work with most things that aren't the normal tetrapod pattern. This works with so much. Oh, Duskframe.
These are always really funny to me too, because Erika, your first response is like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. I want to read your paper." And then you go, "Oh no."
Yeah, that's because I'm actually naive. I wish I wasn't. I wish I knew, but there's just enough real super chats that aren't these puns that make my blood boil that like it puts me off my guard. And so I always try to assume good faith, and then they blindside me. They hit me over the head with a pun bottle when I'm not looking. $4.99 from Vidupins. I love this little corgi. What are your thoughts on Rick Strassman's theory that mammals evolved to produce DMT as a neurotransmitter system for regulating how we perceive reality? I don't know anything about this.
Nor do I.
I wish I could give you an opinion. I've heard that DMT evolved as a way to sort of keep you calm in the throes of death. So as sort of a last-ditch effort to like get your shit together and maybe pull yourself out of it. But I've not heard that it's a neurotransmitter for regulating how we perceive reality. Sounds neat, though. I'll have to look into it.
$10 from Nathan J. Arndt, which, by the way, the surname there is the original form of my first name. When everybody calls me Aron, it's derived from, if I understand correctly, the information I had, it's that spelling.
That's cool.
So, Erika, I ain't happy, but I'm glad. I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long. The future is coming on. It's coming on.
It's coming on. Finally, someone let me out of my cage. Now, time for me is nothing because I'm counting no age. I could go on, but I will spare you. We have $4.99. Yeah, I saw this one come in, actually. From Derek Billings, 8654. Erika, Aron has the best Bigfoot story. Ask him. He already told me. He missed the beginning of the show, and it was very good. It feels like a bit that should happen in like a road trip movie.
And then $5 from the Raven 200. What did the paleontologist tell the doctor when making an appointment? I've been feeling a little dinosaur today.
That's low for you, the Raven 200. The earlier one was much better. And now I'm going to have to beat you to death with a large femur. Oh, look at the possum PFP. So cute. $10 from Metricon 9000. Maybe they should take all those abandoned offices to make solar punk-esque communal third spaces. Or low-income housing. Who am I kidding? They'd rather let the world burn than do any of that. Yeah, I saw conversations about doing low-income housing with the office spaces, and I saw a bunch of posts of that. It's like the face that you get if you combine all the Republican senators together, like all of their faces together, and it's like this very red-faced, like angry-looking amalgamation, archetypal Republican sort of, and it was like I pry it from my cold dead hands.
$10 from One True Word 775. What a great time for my daughter to be a year out from completing her undergrad in marine biology. Any advice on helping her get into a graduate program in another country that invests in science? How is her Cantonese?
Yeah, I would say to her, in genuine advice, I would say start emailing now. Start reaching out to people now. Try to make these connections ahead of time if you can. make these connections via email and then follow up and hopefully have her have a Zoom call with them, put her face in their brains so that they know when she's applying that she takes this stuff super seriously. If this is something that you're really considering, and I think you should, you're competing with the people who are there. Fortunately, a lot of European programs and some of the Chinese programs as well are expanding their doctoral programs to take advantage of the brain drain in the United States. So there's a silver lining if you can actually get out of the United States. But my advice would be touch base earlier rather than later. $10 from Where Is Waldo? The obscenely wealthy hoard. Not to have more, they don't use it for anything anyway, but to keep it from us so that they can use the resulting power imbalance to abuse it with impunity. Yeah, that pretty much says it all.
I never considered myself a socialist, but I think I'm getting there.
It's hard. It's really hard to look at the state of things right now and not be. I mean, my perspective on this is pretty public, so.
$5 from Joshua Everett, 9887. Yes, Lux. I just did my monthly PC blowout. Pulled a ton of pet hair out of the fans. Lol. It makes a huge difference.
I know that there is pet hair in the fans of my laptop, for sure. And I
have a Great Pyrenees.
But,
there's pet hair everywhere.
God help you. Mine, I've got a golden retriever, so it's like 2/3 of a Pyrenees. We got $5 from Duskframe7331. Saw a very fine-looking ape lady. Call that a hominin. That is as close as it gets for making me laugh with a pun. I gotta say, that's as close, because I'm picturing like the SpongeBob, like homina, and that adds a lot to the effect here. It's not, I wouldn't say it's good, but it's something that might make me pause when I'm holding the big rock over your head, about to cave it in.
$5 from the Raven 200. Lovecraft had an undeniable influence on the horror genre. He also wrote a poem called The Creation of Slur, and no, it's worse than you think. Wow.
So I was reading the collection, the Lovecraft collection that my husband got me a couple years ago. It's just like the Necronomicon. I was sitting in bed and I'd be like reading, a perfectly tantalizing, scary, cool short story. And you're like, wow, this is so lovely. And then it's just like a paragraph of just unbelievable venomous hate towards a specific or sometimes more than one minority group. And you're like, why is this in here? Like, you need to see someone about this, buddy. Like, this is so good, and it's also so... Anyways, $4.99 from Team Free Will 08. Aron, were you talking about Therocephalia on Primeval?
I think so. I haven't looked it up. I'm worried that I'm confusing the name, but I think it's Therocephalian.
All right.
Anyway, yeah.
Folks, let me read what we got coming up for you, because if you like this kind of thing, you're going to want to tune into the other kinds of things along this line. We have a lot of stuff going on and coming up. Tomorrow, we got Chewed Gum with Taylor and Alyssa at 6 p.m. Then we got The Hang Up on Wednesday with Matt Dillahunty and a TBD co-host. We got TACIS, that's the Transatlantic Call-In Show at 2 p.m. with Ben and Luxander on Thursday. Then we got Cus I Wanna on Friday, and then a new show. I don't know, is Devangelicals, that's what it's called, right, Lux?
Yeah, it's called The Evangelicals. I need to get in touch with Jimmy to see if we're doing it this weekend, but I know for sure we're doing LineCon on Friday and Saturday. Be there on Patreon, $15 a month.
Let's go. And then on Sunday, we have Justin from Deconstruction Zone. Oh, wait, that would have been yesterday, Sunday. So the following Sunday is not available to me here, but you can find it on the line schedule. Wait, is that public yet, Lux?
I don't know if it's public yet, but it will be. We will be having a publicly available full month schedule every month. For now, you just have to check the channel and see what is scheduled over the next week.
Well, there will be cool stuff on Sunday because there's something almost every day of the week, or actually I think it is every day of the week now, here on the line. So tune in then. Aron, it's been a pleasure hosting with you.
You too. We hadn't done this in so long.
I know. I know.
Yeah. I hope that there is something that we can collaborate on. That would be fun.
We'll find something. We'll find something. Yeah. We'll touch base. But in the meantime, folks, this has been SkepTalk. I've been your gentle and, of course, very modern host. Let's see. Thank you to everybody who watched, to our producers, to my co-host Aron, to our call screeners, to all of the other co-hosts at the line. I'm probably missing people. Oh, to the people who called and Chris Forrest sang. To the calls that sucked and to the calls that didn't suck. He says both of those. I don't know if he talks about the calls that were kind of okay. But thank you to them as well. In the meantime, folks, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you real soon next time. Bye-bye.